Welcome back to the 15th episode of Tales of Tamriel. I am your host, he who pulls mobs into an area just to make you get interrupted while trying to pick Nirnroot so I can steal it out from under your nose. I'm Aggelos, and with me this evening, I have one who is often on the receiving end of this tactic, my lovely wife, Thais. How are you doing this evening, my love?
I'm good. Glad to be home. It was a long week.
Excellent. And also with us this evening, the man who has the sword of Damocles dangling above his head, aka the Nerf bat, Crabby. How are you doing this evening?
I'm pretty good. You know, I finally got a good night's sleep after not getting one for about a week. So, I'm happy about that. Yeah.
Not getting one for a week, huh?
No, waking up at like 4:30 every day. Terrible.
That's depressing. All right, finally we have a special guest this evening. Let me introduce Korgoth the Remembered. If I got this right, how are you doing this evening?
All right. Aggelos, Ag. That's what I meant to say.
All right. Well, let's see here. We have a fun show planned for everyone this evening. Let's get to it. First off, in game news, they started off their community programs this week with the Battlemaster Corner and the Shadow Knight. Let's see here. Yes, it's pretty interesting. They asked for their favorite builds a few weeks ago, and they said they got a lot of different responses. And the first one they decided to pick up was a Nightblade focused heavily on tanking. I've actually not tried any Nightblade tanking. How about you, Crabby?
That's actually something I haven't heard anyone do. I've heard of Sorcerer tanks, Templar and Dragon Knight tanks. I've never actually heard anybody tried this.
It's interesting. We'll get into it in a second because I kind of want to go over it because I think it's kind of neat. How about you, Korgoth? How about you? What have you said?
What this guy did is so unique to Elder Scrolls in general. I mean, he actually made up for the fact that he can't do as many AoE or like area of effect attacks, where it's like a circle around him, and he made up for the fact that he doesn't have that same quality as the Sorcerer or the Templar by doing a lot of life taps and a lot of just DPS over and over and over, and like, yes, attack, never stop. And that is just so awesome.
I definitely like the way that the skill system allows for that kind of customization. Thais, how about you, my dear? What do you think about a Nightblade tank?
I love the idea of it. I happen to really enjoy the Thief Arch class, and I enjoy tanking. So putting them two together in the same class, which is usually very unheard of, just sounds like it would be so much fun and exciting to try.
Indeed. Well, let's go over a couple of the abilities he decided he was going to put into his build. He does a Ransack, which reduces target armor, increases their armor, and their taunt ability. I would imagine that's from the one-handed sword line, I believe. He switches based on the fight of either Absorb Magic, which absorbs spell projectile. My goodness, why did they word it like that? Absorbs spell projectile healing for 115% of the damage, increases block mitigation, and reduces block cost. Something about mage mobs. Refreshing Path, allow me to move around mobs with high mobility, dots, and hots. Lotus Fan, distance closer, and AoE snare for those fights where the bosses like to teleport all over. I haven't run into any of those, but I'm sure they're there. A magic ability allows me to reserve stamina for blocking and taunting. The Absorb Magic, Refreshing Path, and Lotus Fan. I'm guessing, I'm not sure what the Lotus Fan, I assume, is one of the Nightblade abilities. Can anyone confirm that for me?
I cannot. I am a full-fledged sorcerer, sir.
I think I'm in. Okay, pretty much everyone on this show is either a sorcerer or myself, the best class, Templar. So maybe we're not the most qualified to talk about this build in the world. Going back down, he does Degeneration, yet another dot, and hot, and Siphoning attacks. Now I know that one is a Nightblade ability, and returns health on weapon attacks. An ultimate Veil of Blades AoE ability that not only reduces the damage I take, but that of the group, with the benefit of Slip Away synergy that keeps the bosses who randomly drop or are immune to taunts from focusing my group instead of me.
If I could just interject here. To go back to say basically a less excited version of what I said before, this really does prove that if you're creative enough and if you understand what you're working with, you can make any class or any position you want out of any of these classes. And that is what's so insane about this. Come as in an MMO point of view, that is what's so insane, and I believe that would be also what's so overwhelming to many people when they come into this game from MMOs.
It is a lot different. I think the last game that kind of did this to an extent. Now, I guess I should say mainstream that I know of or I've had experience with was Ultima Online that had this exact kind of thing where when you had a character, it wasn't so much that you picked a class, you developed the class, like you actually got a class title and everything based on the skills that you picked. But you had like, how they did it was every skill had up to 100 points in it, and every time you learned it, you got a point in it. And your character was mentally able to understand 700 points worth of skills. So you could mix and match across all the skills, you could grandmaster skills. It was kind of neat. You could build your classes any way you like. And I kind of like how this is a lot of the same thing. Like, you could build a standard archetype from all the weapons and armor in the game, but the class spells kind of offer a little bit of flavor in a different way that you can kind of add to it. Like this is, Nightblade was a stereotypical archetype rogue, assassin, thief class, and they kind of made it into almost like they said Shadow Knight or Dark Knight kind of hit point siphoning kind of tank, and it's really neat to see. Does anyone else have anything to say about the Shadow Knight? Do you guys think it's interesting? Anything of that nature? Let's go around the table. Let's start with Crabby first.
I like any class that can heal themselves like passively, like crazy.
Right.
This seems like it has a lot of nice healing stuff thrown in, and I really like it. That's what I like about it. I'm not really a tank, but I do like siphoning attacks and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And Korgoth, how about you? What do you think about this?
Honestly, I give mad respect to this man and I to the person or man or woman who made this character, because this just shows creativity. It shows uniqueness, and for some reason I'm judging it like it's on the next top model. I don't know.
That's interesting. And finally, Thais, what do you think about this?
I'm excited to try it. I really am. I think I'm going to have to level my Nightblade just so I can pretend to be a tank and die miserably over and over again. But it would still be a lot of fun to try.
Nice. All right, we're going to move off this article, mostly because I would like to dig into it a little bit more, but considering that none of us actually played Nightblade exclusively, it's kind of hard to get into theory crafting if we don't understand it the best way.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic is patch 1.06 was released. I'm just going to read the overview of this. The Elder Scrolls Online version 1.0.6 features fixes to more quest issues and blockers, in addition to game stability and performance. We are continuing to improve our fight against bots and gold spammers, and appreciate your patience and understanding. I'm definitely not going to go through all these notes, because a lot of them, they're not uninteresting notes, to be honest.
There's a lot, which is awesome.
There are a couple things. Do you have any in particular you wanted to pull out?
No, not really. I mean, none of them directly affect me, but I still like seeing them,
Right. I had a couple that I want to pull out of here, and I thought it was kind of interesting. They fixed an issue where new characters of different alliances could automatically be assigned the same campaign. Someone in our guild had that issue. I think it was Flatar, our PvP streamer. He was having that issue, where he wanted to join us on Hope's Fire, and when he made his Ebonheart Pact tune, it was automatically part of his previous campaign for his AD character. So, I know they fixed that. The other one that I really wanted to note was, you must now reach level 10 before creating a new guild. No more guild spammers sending me www.goldbuy.com. So
you know what's funny? I only ever got gold guild spam the first few days, and then it just stopped. For me, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but
I've been getting it all the time. Still,
I
like
get the mails.
I
I
got
get the
one 2
mails.
hours ago, in chat and in the mail.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I got anything today, but I have been getting a lot of those, and I think I got almost 15 guild invites already for the gold spammer guilds.
It's crazy.
Guild invites, I haven't gotten any, but I've gotten lots and lots of mail asking me to, buy their gold, and then I just delete them instantly.
I got one of the guild invites and I accidentally accepted.
Was there anyone in it?
There were like 14 different people, and they were all named G_O_L_D, give away, make money, yada yada.
Well,
So
nice.
how much gold you buy?
Didn't buy any gold.
Bought all the golds.
No,
All
but I
right.
should mention, I am as of today, I am just 300 gold away from being able to afford that weak little horse, and I want it. I want the weak little horse.
The weak little horse. That's a shame.
Ag, I need to tell you, this actually reminded me of something. You might get me banned.
What?
Exactly. Remember how earlier today I asked if I could borrow some gold, and you gave me like a ton of Thais' gold? Well,
Right.
well, well, I was reading Reddit earlier, and people were getting banned that were now you'd buy gold, you'd pay real money, and that person would send you the gold in game. Well, apparently some people are getting banned when they're receiving large sums of gold from their friends.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
dear.
that would be funny, and a funny story if I get banned.
All right, so did you really give him like all of my gold? Because I
Oh.
really don't have much to spare.
All of the gold.
Every bit of it. Yeah.
That's it.
When you get back in game, your character's like naked. I sold all your gear, broke it down. It was a mess. All right, we're going to move on to our next section, the guild spotlight. This is part of their community outreach programs, and they picked a guild called the Noor.
I love that picture they have at the top.
It is a pretty neat picture, except for their dirty elves. If you're interested in reading about this guild, go ahead and check it out. It's on the main site. I'm not going to go through all of this either, because again, honestly, no offense to the people here, but they actually didn't really impress me. Like, because it's one in particular questions like, what activities in ESO do you and your members enjoy? And they're like, we span all activities, including but not limited to PvP, PvE, crafting, RP, strategizing, socializing, etc. I'm like, well, what else is there to do in an MMO? Like,
Well,
really?
come on. If you were gonna get a full-on spotlight for your guild, you're gonna make it sound like an ad to sell a car. You're gonna want people to probably join it, I imagine.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess.
We have 4-wheel drive.
I would
we
probably have been more impressed if they said they had 4-wheel drive, but
Airbag in every car door.
I don't know. I just wasn't impressed with it. I almost, again, not saying anything against these guys. I'm sure they're great guys, but it just kind of feels like they took all the random guilds, threw it into a hat, and a random number generator pulled out. I really don't think they put much thought into it, because I know quite a few other guilds, such as like Entropy Rising, Vulcandyne, some of these other ones that are big parts of the community and actually moving forward. I would have thought it would have been better to, highlight them that actually are not only a guild in the game, but do something as part of the community as well. So if it were me and I were hand choosing, I would have picked a guild that would have been a little bit more than what they did here.
yeah, but being random is also the most fair way to do it.
I agree. I agree. And
Do you
think
have
they
any
are
idea
random.
of what people would say if they chose Entropy Rising as the first guild?
Well,
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying, oh well, clearly there's some blah blah blah, but it's I guess it being random is fair.
Yeah.
It did seem a little like an ad to join the guild, which I guess is fine because you want to get the most out of it as you can.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, like for instance, if you're gonna be upfront about a guild, for instance, I won't say the name of it, but I belong to an RP guild, and it's a very strict RP. and it has to do with like Redguard lore and all that stuff. But it's not. It does not try to get more members as like. I do understand that. I do understand you want people to join your guild. You're going to try to branch out to everyone. That strategy, however, does not work for your guild because in the end, you want people who are going to be good tanks, good healers, good, everything else. And then you get people who come in like, "Hark, I have come from the lost city of Yakuda. I need your help."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, all right, we're going to move off of that subject because I really don't want to offend anyone because I don't mean offense by
I don't
it.
want to either. I
don't know. I just thought it was kind of, like you said, it really did, even though random is the fair way to do it, I felt that it didn't even make me feel like it wasn't random. It really did feel random. I'm actually going to skip the next section. I'm going to pull that in a little later because the other topic I think is going to be shorter. They did their first audience with an emperor, with Morcloth. He was the first emperor to be crowned in the game, actually. And they went through, and it's an interesting little article. I know when they went in, they crowned the emperor. This was done within like 2 days of early access. And I know Entropy Rising as well as PRX. You remember PRX? They were in Guild Wars 2 as well. I remember seeing PRX. They were a big World v. World guild. But they went through, and I know they did this pretty early on, and just like zerged everything and took it all down. I'm sure there was a little bit more, but they go through and talk about, get standard article of like an interview article, and ask him what kind of character he plays, and it's a shame he plays an Altmer sorcerer. I mean, blah. But yeah, so that was definitely, it's an interesting read if you're interested in seeing what they were doing to become emperor. Like, he kind of goes into it pretty crazy about what their strategy was, what they determined to do. He said pretty much he stayed up all night and got like no rest at all. So it's interesting. It's an interesting read. So if you're interested in reading it, it's out on the official site. The Audience with the Emperor, the first emperor to be crowned in the Elder Scrolls Online. All right, moving on to the next topic, which I think was pretty cool. Zenimax held another Ask Us Anything on Reddit, and I think this kind of tied in a lot with their Road Ahead article, which is what our discussion topic is going to be on today. Now, it was fairly long, and as such, I really didn't want to go through the entire article because it makes for a very boring show to sit here and let us go through every single thing when a lot of it was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of it was a lot of cheesy answers. But now I did pull out a few nuggets that I thought were kind of neat. So what we're going to do...
How long is this?
How long is the full article?
Wow, it's really long.
It is big. What we're gonna do here is we are going to ask a question and we'll talk about each individual answer. I'll go ahead and read it off, and we'll go around the table, of course, and give our thoughts. We'll go Crabby, Korgoth, Thais, then myself. First off, any plans on housing in the future? And Zenimax replied, "We really want to do player housing, but we want to do it right. We don't have a time frame to share yet." Crabby, what do you think?
This wasn't the answer I wanted, but it is better than what they could have said. I wanted them to say, "Oh, we're gonna do it this year," but I'm glad they want to take the time to do it, to make it correct,
Sure.
So even if it comes out next year, middle next year, that's fine. But I'm glad they want to do it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Korgoth, what do you think about that?
All right, Zenimax, here's what you need to do. No, but I have my own thoughts. Would it be okay if I got into that, or would you feel like it would drag on too long?
No, go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
Okay, my thoughts on player housing in this game. One, you should be in a perfect ideal world with the rules that have already been shown to us in this game and how things are leveled. As soon as you reach level cap for a zone, in that you reach the level above, say for instance, you reach a level above the highest level enemy in Glenumbra, for example, right? Like you're right near the border of Glenumbra. You know what I'm talking about? You get the high level enemies. Okay, you've passed that level. At that point, you should have the ability to go to, say, I would say a bank, or just the king of that major city, like for Glenumbra, it would be Daggerfall, and that's where you should go and get a house. Now, it comes to the issue of like how high will the price be? And I know Zenimax will probably pull a sort of horse thing with it, but I hope they don't. I hope they don't. I hope it's like a clean 10,000. I would save up 10,000 gold for a basic house, and then work to get furniture and stuff like that. Customization is something I won't get into because that really will drag on a lot, and I don't really want to waste your time with like rambling. But when it comes to the whole MMO and having everybody owning the same house, how do you solve that issue? You can't really, unless you have, say, 5 different houses, then randomize which location each one is in throughout Daggerfall. So yes, you have a bunch of different people on your lawn, but no one in the house, because the house itself, the inside of it, should be instanced to you. Is that okay?
I'm sure that's how it'll be. I mean, a game cannot have placeable housing unless the game is built for it. Ultima Online was built in the mind of you're going to place a house. So there was gigantic open spaces of land. Star Wars Galaxy is the same way. Those planets were gigantic, so you could place houses.
Archage is the same way.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Thace, your shot.
I read this statement as there is definitely going to be housing. We just don't know when. So that makes me very happy to see. Because if they weren't going to have any housing, they would have just said, no, we don't want to do it. We have no plans to do it. We're just no. So this simple statement to me is a shining light into the future that I will be able to hoard everything I find in my house and organize it. How they do it, how long it takes, don't care, as long as it works well and I can hoard everything.
Yeah, I really want a house in the Alakir Desert now.
That would be sweet.
For myself, and actually Garbrek from TSO Elite and I were going back and forth on Twitter about this for the housing. In all likelihood, what they'll probably end up doing is they'll do a housing-ish zone that you zone into that's attached to part of a city. And inside has 20 different slots or something like that. And when people buy them up, a new instance is created.
So
it's like
Lord of the Rings Online's neighborhoods.
Kind of.
I actually really like their neighborhood system a lot, because there's the potential where we could live next to each other.
Right.
I mean,
If everyone zones in at the same time, then yeah, you might be able to.
well, in Lord of the Rings, you could actually choose what neighborhood you wanted to go to, and if there was a house for sale, you could buy that house.
As long as I'm not stuck living next to Crabby.
Well, yeah, no, that's actually something that I wanted to suggest if I didn't make it, kind of clear. Like, not just for Glenumbra, I mean, like, for every zone. When you reach a higher level than that zone's enemies, you should be able to buy a house there. Like, even in the Alakir Desert, Glenumbra, I'm Daggerfall Covenant, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. Alakir Desert, Glenumbra, Stormhaven, if you're Ebonheart Pact, wouldn't you like a house in Deshaun?
I prefer not to have mushrooms for a house, but yeah, I know what you're saying there. So, Shadow.
I just want that sweet Arabian architecture that's in the Alakir Desert. I love that.
Well, if they go with the type of Hearthfire kind of stuff, because Final Fantasy XIV did this, where they had neighborhoods that you're talking about. You literally walked up to a zoning gate, and as soon as you walked up, it brought up a menu that said, whatever you want to call it, Area 1, 2, 3, and it showed all the lots that were available, and you could pick which zone you wanted to go into. I would imagine that's probably similar to what they'll be able to do here. As for being able to hoard everything, I can tell you right now that will never happen. They up and said they up and said right at the very start of this that the main reason why they have bank stuff that has limits is they want people to up and choose what is important and what's not. I could see housing as a way of increasing storage space. Like if you buy a small house, you get an extra 50 slots. If you buy a medium house, you get an extra 100, whatever the case may be. And I think that would be kind of neat. Because I don't ever see. Can you imagine the amount? And I'm talking from a purely system administrator here. The amount of data that a single person could hold if their house was like Skyrim houses, where you could literally just throw every single thing you ever owned ever in a chest. The amount of code per character that would be needed, it would be insane. And not only that, we already know they had issues with bank slots disappearing. Could you imagine something happening to the code to your house and you lost that one chest?
I would not use my housing storage for a very long time.
Right. I'm just saying that they, as an MMO, there has to be limits, because otherwise we would make the company go broke with the amount of infrastructure hardware they would be required just to keep our character data in line.
So,
yes.
Right. So what do you think of this? How about this? You go into your house. You're in the inside of your house. Close your eyes. Picture it. You have your eyes closed?
I got my eyes closed, good sir.
You have walked into your house. It's a nice place. Right next to you, there is a cupboard on the wall, hanging high on the wall, not too low, but just sort of on the medium of the wall. And you can open it. And in that cupboard, there are 4 slots. You can put 4 things in that cupboard. You walk over to your nightstand. You can put 2 things in that nightstand. You walk over to your bed. You walk over to your cooking area, your pantry. You can put stuff in there, you know? Mm-hmm. Why not have slots that are so somewhat immersion type slots like that? Like, have them be actual storage containers that are limited, but are realistically limited. I mean, sure, it could be as big as like 10 slots a container, or 10 slots a chest, or 10 slots a nightstand. But still, to have that in a specific area of your house, like you could RP, and again, RP is a big part of this game for me, and I apologize if I get like lore nerdy on you.
No, that's cool. I like that idea, actually. That is really neat, tying the amount of space you get, like make it a hard cap on the house that's saying this house has a maximum of an extra 100 slots, but you can decide based on the furniture you put in it where the slots are. That's really neat. I like that.
So unique RP opportunities come out of that, like, all right, it's a vampire invasion. I gotta go get my ammo. It's in my, it's in my nightstand. I remember every night I check the nightstand.
With me, it'd probably be in the cupboard. But yeah. But I know I was that way in Skyrim. Like, I had specific chests. Like, this one is where all my gems were. This chest right over here is where I kept my dragon mask. I was crazy like that, and I think that's
I was too. It's like an OCD organization thing that it happens when you play a Pokemon game, and it also happens when you organize stuff in a Hearthfire home or in just a normal home. In Skyrim.
I have never played Pokemon, good sir. So we're going to move on from this topic to the next question. Do you guys still have plans to add additional rank slots for the guild? And they answer, a lot of guilds find it difficult to organize their hierarchy with only 3 ranks and a guild master rank. Is there a rough time frame for this? Do we have plans to increase the amount of guild rank slots and make what they're called customizable? And they answer, we don't have a time frame, but it is something that we'd like to get on this year, along with some other guild improvements. Crabby, what are your thoughts?
Neat. I want to see what other guild improvements they have. I mean, I understand guild leaders, they do want more ranks, but I'm curious what other functionality they have up their sleeve they want to do.
I'm more interested in functionality than ranks myself, because even with our guild, I don't even use the starter rank. As soon as people join, I promote them up, because
we use like 2 ranks pretty much.
Yeah, that's it. Whatever. I know some people like to get pretty crazy. All right, we're gonna skip Korgoth for now because Thais is over here raising her hand like crazy. What do you have, babe?
I'm the kind of person where I think that a guild only needs 2 ranks, member and guildmaster. You're either the guildmaster or you're not. That's all you really need.
But what about officers and officer alts and officer bank alts and officer
Now,
banks and
wait,
officer alt
I'm
banks?
actually surprised Ag answered the way he did, because Ag is the kind of person who adds 15 ranks, because he has the officer alt, the officer bank alts, all the alts, alt this, alt that, and he'll name them all these crazy, ridiculous names, so people in the guild are like, what rank am I? What does that mean? I
You are
don't
the
get it.
God of
So,
Sorry.
unless they're going to be implementing a whole bunch of other really cool guild things, just increasing the guild rank slots is pointless and stupid to me. Just to me. There only needs to be 2 ranks, member and guildmaster.
Korgoth, how about you, buddy?
With me, I'd say I am the same way as your wife would describe you. In that sense that if I was starting a guild, I would be permanently organizing them like, we must move as a single cohesive unit. Everyone must understand their responsibilities. Like, it's just like, it would get so strict and I would just suck. I personally would suck all the fun out of playing this game. I'm sorry. And I would just be like, look, there are 800, I would create 800 different ones and I would name them crazy things like, you are the king of the Nightblade troops. Like, I would have the troops, I would have like different troops depending on how they've built their character, different enforcers, and after that I would have what's called made men, and that's a mafia term. I would have basically people of honor who would not be as high a rank as me, but be the officers that are in between me as the guild master and the officers. That they would have that rank, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we actually Garbrek from Tiso Elite's actually in here saying, for example, in the Tiso Elite Guild, they have the GMs, they have co-GM, PvE leader, PvP leader, crafting leader, and 2 lieutenant positions for each of those. And that doesn't even include the standard rank and file member ranks and probationary ranks. Some people like probationary ranks. Am I the only person who remembers probationary guilds from like Warcraft when you went to go do a Warcraft raid? Yeah, well, not as much anymore.
Well, all right. So I played Star Wars: The Old Republic before playing this last November, and the guild hours, and we weren't really hardcore. We raided 2 nights a week, but we still had a 2-week probationary guild rank. It was kind of crazy.
And Garbrek, pretty much the only thing the bank leader would be doing is taking everything out and putting it all back in a stack and putting it back in. Oh, it drives
and then
me
you'd
nuts.
have me who would... I would open up the guild bank and make smiley faces out of all the icons. Every guild I was in, whenever there was a bank that had the tiles, like in Warcraft, I would make like smiley faces and like stuff like that, and the bankers would get so mad. It was wicked funny.
See, I agree with Me on Fire. You could just type that in the notes, because when you have all those separate titles, everyone starts feeling like they're better than that person, and that better's better than that person, and it creates nothing but more confusion and more distaste in your guild and between its members. Now, if you have GM, you have an officer and a member, 3. That's it. And you only need at max maybe 2 officers, unless you have a giant guild. But having all these crazy titles, it's just too much. You don't need all that.
Again, that's based on personal opinion. Some people really do go in, and I honestly would rather have options that people can choose to use, or, like, my goodness, if I could, I'd take an extra 2 ranks out of our guild as well, because we don't use it for anything. But some people who really like Tiso Elite saying that they have specific leaders that if you're going, oh, I want to be a PvE raider, I shouldn't talk to the PvP guy. He doesn't know what's going on. Talk to the guy who's actually organizing the PvE raid teams. Some people like the organization. I don't see the problem with giving them the tools to be as crazy as they would like.
Maybe it's not about the ranks or the names. Maybe it's about having basically different coaches, like for different activities, Like, you shouldn't have maybe all these. Like, now that I rethink my previous statement, maybe it shouldn't be about having all the different multiple ranks. Maybe it should just be about having, this is the person you go to advice for PvP. This is the person you go to advice for PvE. This is the person you go to advice for helping to build your class, you know?
Well, we're at that point we're just arguing semantics, because at that point that's what the guild ranks that they're having do. It's as long as people know what it is, the ranks are differentiating people from the common member. I mean, you could do that with note, or you could do that with guild notes. You could do that with ranks. I don't see them having an issue with increasing the way the guilds are, because, hey, if you don't want to use it, don't use it, but options are never a bad thing. Moving on to the next one, when is Bat Swarm going to be fixed? They link a YouTube video. Bat Swarm, huh?
Bat Swarm is gross.
What's up with Bat Swarm?
I haven't used it because I'm a noob and I don't PvP much. But, so, you can morph Bat Swarm, I believe, to do damage. And vampires will pop Bat Swarm and just run into 50 guys and just destroy everybody. It's just that overpowered. It's out of control.
I had that
is.
experience when sorry.
Ag, that happened to us last week.
I remember.
It was ridiculous. I mean, they need to hotfix that. I can't believe they're waiting so long.
Right. Yeah, they said it's being planned in the near future. They'll make adjustments. There's not a lot to discuss about this. It does need fixed. If you've been in there, like, even when we did our PvP event like 2 weeks ago, 2 vampires came in. We had 12, 13 people, and 2 guys came in and destroyed us with Bat Swarm. That was it. It was crazy.
Can I say that I have only gone to Cyrodiil twice, and while both times I got destroyed because I went in alone, the one of the times that I got destroyed was by a fellow using Bat Swarm. It was by a vampire fellow using Bat Swarm, and it was very strange to me. And I thought that, well, it's just another like clink in the game, like that was an NPC. But since I had the UI so small, I didn't notice that was a player. And yeah, that's just I do hope they fix it.
It is very overpowered at the moment, and actually, it's overpowered when even people who have vampire say it's overpowered. Like, it's not a lot of people going, oh, it's just a bunch of whiners. They're like, yeah.
At this point, I feel like God. I don't need that,
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, moving on to the next section. Can we please get Gar mounts? I would love to ride on the back of my favorite creature while striking fear in my enemies' eyes as they see me and my new best friend trotting onto the battlefield.
Yes.
And they said we are definitely planning on this, but no promises on a timeline. I'm going to say this right off the bat. I mean, there's nothing wrong with more customization. I just hope they don't get too crazy. Gar, okay. And I mean, like, Morrowind, if you played Morrowind, there's some funky mount stuff, like the Silt Striders and things of that nature. But where do we go when people complain that they want more mounts and it breaks Elder Scrolls lore? Like,
I want to ride a giant crocodile. Like, that would be stupid.
Yeah.
And like oversized regular animals, like Guar are fine because
they're already domesticated. They're pack animals.
Yeah. But like, oh man, hey look, there's a rat. I want to ride a 30-foot long rat. Like, things like I don't want to see oversized regular animals.
Right.
Maybe
and
bears. I might be able to see like bears being a mount. Actually, that might fit.
Yeah.
I think that might even be pushing it a little bit.
You think so? Like Nords? Well,
bears aren't domesticated in any one way or the other, and it's kind of crazy.
But that's not lore breaking, though. With all the magic and fantasy that's in this game, you could very well think that a mage put a spell on a bear to make it friendly, and thus turning it into your mount.
Especially a werewolf mage. Sorry.
If the animal is in the game, it's not lore breaking to turn it into a rideable mount. Unless, of course, it's a 20-foot rat. That's just a little insane. But the guar, the lions that are in
Mhm.
the, I think it's lions or tigers. The,
Lions.
the, the
I've been eaten
tigers
by
that are
one.
in the game,
Oh my.
all those are totally valid.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. Just because in the 20-some years of Elder Scrolls games, whenever they had mounts, not even Gar were mounts. They were tiny pack animals that they used to carry stuff, but they were never big enough to ride as mounts. I feel like we don't want this game to be Warcraft. I don't. As Garbrick says, a mud crab with a monocle. When does it cross the line that that's what happens next?
There's no way that Bethesda or the Elder Scrolls people are going to allow the game to get that out of control, like the giant turtles in WoW. It's not going to happen. But because it is an MMO, you have to appeal to the MMO players, which means those unique, strangely colored animal mounts,
Mhm.
they have to be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They need to have
sorry.
like mystical horses, like a shadow mare type.
Oh. Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
Right. Korgoth, what were you gonna say? I know you're trying to say stuff in there.
Okay. What I'm gonna say is Gore would be acceptable both in the Somerset Isles. It would also be acceptable in the Morrowind territories. Horses would be acceptable. Sadly, all throughout the Daggerfall Covenant, for lore purposes, you wouldn't be going into unique animal territory. You could say that there were these special kinds of horses that only go around in the Alakir Desert, and they have like some special uniqueness to them, some unique feature that they're raised a certain way, but not of course in speed, but in aesthetic. Um, as far as what happens when they open elsewhere? What happens when they open that territory? Uh, can you get a Pumar to ride? Can you, please?
Can I
Considering
ride somebody's brother? I mean, really?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Me ride your
right. I don't know. I don't even like the precedent. I really don't. And see, herein lies the problem, and I'm going to get very cynical here for a minute. I love the Elder Scrolls, but when does the almighty dollar, like what my wife said, love her, but what she said is they need to cater to the MMO players. But when does the mighty dollar of the MMO players start bringing in different stuff that oh, well, they want this, so let's bring it in. And I'm an MMO player, so I'm not saying that, but I love this universe too much to see them tear it apart. Like, just because an MMO player goes, wow, lets me ride on the back of dragons, I want a dragon, when we all know the lore does not allow that. But when does Zenimax go, well, we could make it a magical dragon that's ethereal, just to get it in there. But, that's kind of walking a razor's edge between a universe that we all know and love and to make a dollar. And I don't
think
like
you're going to start. I think starting with the Guar mount, any mounts like a bear mount or a tiger or whatever, I think any of these exotic, in quotes, mounts, you're going to start seeing in the cash shop.
Yep. And that is a dangerous precedent that I really don't even want to entertain. I don't like it.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Can
I just say, like, in a perfect world, what I would do is, since we do know there are just plain tigers in Elsewhere as well as Valenwood, I would retexture some. I would just simply change the shape of the horses. They wouldn't be any faster than the horses. They wouldn't be any better or greater than the horses. But instead of horses, in a certain area, you would find Guar. Instead of Guar in a certain area, like in Skyrim, you would find horse. I would, again, that's just because that's me, and I'm super into the lore, and I'm just like, look, you can, trade all these different things. And yes, horses would also be sold in Morrowind. And you do see horses in that land as well. Actually, wait, no, you don't. Wait, no, I now that I think about it, you don't really see horses in Morrowind, do you?
You do. They sell horses in Morrowind, but they have more exotic. It's mostly horses in Guar, and then in Vardenfall, you see Silt Striders.
Yeah. That's the one that I feel they could never do would be Silt Striders, just because of how big Silt Striders are.
Right. That it's a taxi service at best.
Yeah,
but
But it's a baby.
Get
You can
mini
ride.
Silk Striders.
You could ride this baby Silt Strider. It's totally fine.
Exactly, and it would work because they're already in the game. There's no way that Zenimax is going to just
That needs to be
completely
available.
disregard all the lore that they've already written for so many years.
A Silt Strider baby, a larvae, I would buy that as a vanity pet.
it's a flea. It's a bloody flea. Who wants that?
But they're so
I would hug
cute.
it. It could snuggle me and it could take my blood. I don't care.
That's probably what would happen. All right, we're gonna move off this before it gets too crazy. Next up,
wait. I would buy it as something you'd buy with gold, not with Cash Shop. I just want to reiterate that. Sorry.
Well, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Next up, and I thought this was interesting. Something that is a struggle for most MMOs is the paced cadence of releases of new content. I recall Rift to be impressively fast with future content patches before they went free to play, by the way. Now it's a piece of garbage. And Guild Wars 2 has a very impressive new content every 2-week cycle. On the other hand, MMOs like WoW, although it has arguably improved slightly in recent times, that is incorrect. It's actually even gotten worse. And Final Fantasy XIV has a really long time between content patches. Can you please give us an idea of what ESO's cadence is going to be moving forward?
Smiley face.
Smiley face. Right now, we're concentrating on weekly patches to fix issues. That's nothing new, Zenimax. You really shouldn't be, praising that. Everyone does that. And to get the service stable. And of course, we are getting into Update 1, which is Craglorn, which will be ready to go live soon. After the dust settles, we're planning on an update every 4 to 6 weeks. They all won't be as big as the first one, with a complete zone and tons of other stuff, but they'll have a mix of new content and fixes, balance tweaks. Crabby, what do you think?
I think 4 to 6 weeks is too short. I think after Craglorn, they're not even going to make 4 to 6 weeks. I think it's going to be a solid 2 months after that. I think they are a little what's the word? I think they're
Overzealous?
Yes. I think they're way too overzealous with this. I mean, I like it, don't get me wrong. If they prove me wrong and do it every 4 to 6 weeks, that's great. I don't see it happening.
Okay, Korgoth, what about you?
I'd say I'd say the same as Crabby, about every 2 months. But that's if they were doing something. Honestly, I don't think I can really speak on this issue, given that as far as time frame goes, I don't know what their work schedule is like. I don't know what they can get done in a work day, let alone, I don't know. I haven't sat there with them, right next to them, watching them work. I haven't been to the Zenimax studios. I have no idea.
Right, and isn't this one of your first MMOs as well?
It's my fourth. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so relatively new. Thais, what about you? 4 to 6 weeks.
I honestly don't think they're going to be able to keep up with that. I really don't. With the gigantic update coming up, with like they said, the whole new zone and Craglorn, and to think that the next month they're going to be able to put out something else, it's not nearly as big, but should still make an impact on the game. I definitely think a lot of the fans are going to be disappointed when it takes 6 weeks or longer, when they said it'll take 4 to 6. I really think that's what's going to happen.
Or they could do it on this schedule. And I mean, think about it. Craglorn might be relatively bug free, but when we get like a third patch down the road and they're still doing 4 to 6 weeks, something tells me the further we get into the game, it's going to get buggier and buggier because they're going to have to fix bugs from the previous patch because they're only spending 4 to 6 weeks working on it. So I don't know. I think it's too ambitious.
A lot of, and this is again coming from a computer background, a lot of times development teams and bug fix teams are different. So I'm going to say this. 4 to 6 weeks, I think, is doable. I don't think it's doable in the way that we're thinking, though. 4 to 6 weeks of they release something, 4 to 6 weeks goes by, nothing. And within 4 to 6 weeks, something should be on the PTS. I don't think it'll be live. I think they could do it if it's patch, 4 to 6 weeks of nothing, and then something on the PTS for a little while. I think that would be enough to even satisfy the raiders and the content locust, knowing that, hey, there's still something over there on PTS and coming at a fairly frequent. I think it's too ambitious to say it's going to be a patch, and within 4 to 6 weeks we'll have another one on the PTS, fully tested and released. Too quick. So yeah, I'm thinking it'll be something closer to within 4 to 6 weeks we'll see notice of something on PTS. And actually, if that is true, the game's been out for a little over a month at this point, or very close to a month. No, it'd be almost 6 weeks, and guess what's on PTS? Craglorn. And I could see that working. And then when they release Craglorn within another 4 to 6 weeks, maybe the next thing is up on the PTS for testing. That is a little bit more doable. And if you really want to get into the lawyer speak of things, I think that meets their requirement of, oh yeah, something every 4 to 6 weeks. It's in testing now, and you guys can go test it for us. I think that would be the only way they could pull off 4 to 6 weeks. Chat room, what do you think about that? Let us know. Let's move on to the next section. Oh my goodness, my editing here is terrible. Do you plan to add level mentoring system to allow players to manually scale their level down to play on equal footing with their lower level friends? And they answer, this is something we've been working on. We're evaluating it now and hope to have more info about this at some point soon. It is part of the overall let players find each other more easily initiative. Crabby, what do you think about it?
I don't really care. I've never been one to mentor myself down for any reason. So, that doesn't really affect me. I don't really care for this. So whatever.
So you're a selfish Crabby.
I'm not selfish. All right. So mentoring in, what was it, Guild Wars 2, where you auto level down, that was cool. That was fine, because you would auto mentor down and you would still get the skill points in the zones, and you'd still plow through everything, but it was a little different. In Rift, you had to manually mentor down, and it got a little annoying. I don't know. I mean, it's never been something for me to go back to low level zones, really, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, respectable. Korgoth, what do you think?
I cannot. I don't know. I feel like I'm play Daggerfall Covenant in this game, and my friends who I will end up playing with once they get on the server will probably be Ebonheart Pact. So I just have an alt lined up for when they start playing. I'll be pretty even leveled with them. I don't think this is going to be something that affects me in any way.
Okay. It really is one of those things that really only affects people whose friends join later on, and if they're not altaholics. Thais, what do you think, my love?
I think that it'll be a neat aspect. Some people will enjoy it. I don't necessarily care either way, because if I'm going back to help somebody, then I want to be my level. I want to be super powered with all my pumped up spells, plowing through crap while they stand there cheering. Yay! That's what I want. I don't want to have to click a button to down level.
It's a nice feature that MMOs probably should have. But in terms of, us using it, it's probably not very likely. But I like the option for it.
Options are never a problem. I myself, despite what my wife was saying, I wouldn't be cheering for you because I'd be bored. I find that boring. But that's me personally. I would much rather have my friends come down and actually play together rather than them essentially playing for me. But that's a personal for me. I would, even if they came down to help me, it's like, hey, thank you. Okay, now I can go back and I don't know. I guess I like my games to be challenging, and like you said, if you're coming through at max level 50, veteran rank, whatever, down to a level 10 zone, you will obliterate everything. And you know what it would feel like? A lot of what a lot of people were complaining about early on when they're running through public dungeons and everything's cleared out because everyone's already in there. That's kind of what it feels like when you have a high level come through and just do it all for you. You're just kind of sitting there going, oh, well, what was I here for? You know, like while you finish the quest, you don't get that personal gratification as if you worked for it. And I like the mentoring down. It makes it so that it's an adventure without having to re-roll an alt, because I hate alts. You know, I do. But, you know, I don't want to ruin the experience for someone because I go in and one-shot the guy who's supposed to be an epic fight. It's kind of like going into any like single-player RPG that has a strict level, like the Final Fantasies, for instance, over leveling and grinding your levels up, like in Final Fantasy 12, where you could grind levels out in the one dungeon with the ever repeating monsters. You could leave it running overnight and it would just farm for you until you were max level. But when you got the storyline bosses who were technically supposed to be like level 20 and you were level 90, it really took that epic fight away. You know, there's this big, I am the big bad destroyer of all doom, and you walk up and push them over. It kind of takes a little something away from that. Because I don't know about you, but I've done fights, and like, well, we've done the raiding fights where it's been at level hardcore. You just feel that rush of when you take something down that was meant to be difficult. But going back and doing it a few expansions later when you can essentially solo it takes a little bit of that epic feeling away. And I feel like that's the same feeling you get when a high-level friend comes down and essentially does the quest for you. But, you know, options are definitely nice. I know people hated Guild Wars 2's auto level because they wanted the choice of being able to do it rather than being forced into it.
I loved the way Guild Wars 2 did their leveling system.
Some people liked it. Okay, next up on the list. So, spellcrafting. I'm excited about this. What can you tell us about your plans? I know I can't tell you how excited I am to have it in the game. I don't want to give you all the spoilers just yet, but maybe I'll drop one or two, or so they say. First one for you, since your thread was the first one I saw. In crafting spells, you'll be rediscovering the traditional Elder Scrolls schools of magic, alteration, destruction, etc. What do you think, Crabby?
This excites me because I was kind of upset when I first was looking into ESO and noticed that none of the actual schools were there. So if they have skill lines for each school, that would be fantastic. That would be amazing. I would love it. So I hope that's what it is.
Okay. Korgoth, what do you think?
I will say the same thing. I do definitely want those skill lines of you can go through this and do this certain mission, and then out of it you get this restoration skill line, or you get the destruction skill line, the conjuration. I play a sorcerer.
I didn't even think of that. Conjuration.
I put so much into again, I say perk. No, I put the points so much into Daedric summoning. All that's my main thing that I do. And if there was more stuff to summon, I could have my own private army.
A little side note, as you guys know from Skyrim, summon skeleton and summon zombie were part of that, so maybe you could roleplay your necromancy if you wanted to, if that's really what they pull into it. All right. Thais, what do you think?
I think it's a wonderful idea, but they use the word spell crafting, which kind of confuses me a little bit.
You are reading my mind, my love, and this is exactly what I was going to go on to as well. Go ahead and finish your thought, though, if you want.
I don't see how they'll really be able to implement it into the game, because they would have to really make it spell crafting. They would have to implement a whole lot to make it worthwhile of that name. And I'm excited, but I'm not gonna get real excited for it because right now I'm kind of like I don't know how this is gonna go.
Let me tell you this. This is my problem with it. The way they describe it, I want to see what they're doing. I played Morrowind. They had spellcrafting in that game. Does anyone here remember Morrowind's spellcrafting?
No, but I do remember Oblivion's spellcrafting.
Oblivion's was very similar to Morrowind, a little dumbed down, but it's essentially the same thing. Where it was almost like mixing and matching spells. Like you could take this spell, like you could add a heal spell and then make it that it generate a fire shield around you. Like that kind of stuff. So what I'm curious is, like they're saying you're going to be rediscovering traditional Elder Scrolls schools of magic. Is it going to be similar to how we morph skills now? Because the only way I could see the spellcrafting being in such a way that I think would satisfy the single-player fans that know what spellcrafting really is would be to have these extra spell lines that you could learn from the schools of magic, whereas you would have alteration, and you would be leveling alteration as you would in Skyrim, or destruction as you would in Skyrim, and it would be an ability you could put on your bar that you wouldn't need a staff for. But then what you would be able to do would be to mix and match, like take a destruction spell, and I'm going to say it for the lack of better terms, doing what WoW called it, the Frostfire Bolt, combining a fire spell and a frost spell that it was 2 in 1. That was the spell crafting from Oblivion and Morrowind. Or creating a heal over time spell that created a fire shield around you that people, when they attacked you, took fire damage. That was the spell crafting that I remember from Morrowind and Oblivion.
Actually, what you just described, which was healing yourself while dealing fire damage, I did a similar thing with, I believe, with frost damage when in Oblivion, and I do understand what you're talking about, but I don't want to interrupt. Sorry.
Oh no, but that's it. You know what I mean by doing the spell crafting here. If it's literally just, I don't know, you get to go up to a line and spellcraft, and all of a sudden you learn an alteration ability. That's not spell crafting. And also, how are they going to do this? Like, I can just imagine this as a number crunching crazy guy that I am. The amount of balance issues that this could cause if it were true spellcrafting, and the amount of combinations. Because the spellcrafting before, I'm sure they'll have limits, but there was still, it can't just be like the morphing in it now where you have 2 options. Otherwise, they'll say it's just morphing of another skill line, and you named it something different.
Yeah.
But they need to have a lot of options. But could you imagine the amount of choices that you could do?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead. If you have something, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt, but what you just said, only 2 options. Okay, well, think about this. Spellcrafting either as 1 skill line or as multiple skill lines, but you have a slot in every one of those skill lines, but something strange about that skill line, it's blank. There's no darkened ability like you unlock something. No. Basically, if it is spellcrafting, right? So you go out in the world, and I know this isn't the traditionalist way, but I'm just suggesting a way that it might work. Please don't stone me in the chat. I apologize. But essentially, you go out throughout the world, and you take these different ingredients. Now, these could be a mixture of alchemical, blacksmithing, and enchanting ingredients, or just enchanting and alchemical ingredients, for example. And you could come back, and you could throw these into a pot. And there are different altars or different pots or cauldrons for destruction, for different elements of destruction, or for different parts of restoration. And once you throw that in, depending on what you put in there, it morphs into a specific way that fills that skill box. That little I don't know what to call it.
Sure, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like you would be developing the skills as you go by doing these different things and by mixing them in different ways the spell has different attributes as it grows. And once it reaches 100% and it's done, it's like, well, this is what you have.
Yep. And not just 2 options, about like 15 options, like insane amount of options here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect, and I like that. That is really cool. But yeah, that's what I want to say about spellcrafting, because of the fans of the genre and what spellcrafting meant to, like, the people who only started in Skyrim don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But those who did Morrowind and
Mm-hmm.
Oblivion, I don't remember if it was in Daggerfall or Arena. I didn't really get very far into those, but I could probably safely say they weren't. It was an in-depth system that was a lot of time, and was fairly complex. So if they call it spellcrafting, it needs to be what spellcrafting really was, or else they should have just called it spell mixing, or some other name that doesn't bring back memories, because that's the problem when dealing with a franchise like this. When you say a word that has been used in the game before, it automatically brings back memories, like spellcrafting.
Yeah.
And people like myself, like the Morrowind fans, who are quite honestly probably more hardcore about Elder Scrolls than like anyone else who joined in the series afterwards. When you say spellcrafting, if it's not what they're expecting, they're going to be upset, and you can really anger some people by going, yeah, this is spellcrafting, when they're like, no, you did this in 2 other games and this is not spellcrafting. You should have just called it something else. Alright. /rant over. Alright. Do you have any plans for Battlegrounds in this game? Blizzard recently stated it is their most popular activity and it would fit perfectly in ESO. Alright. Again, cynical.
Blizzard.
No, I really do, because right off the bat, I know Battlegrounds aren't their most popular activity. In fact, it's actually one of their least popular activities. And that was a metric that they actually derived, so I don't know where this person pulled it out of their bum. And it will fit perfectly in ESO? No, it really wouldn't. It really wouldn't. And this is where I like what they said. We have no plans for Battlegrounds or small-scale PvP at the moment, and we're focusing on Cyrodiil for now. That's not to say we won't be adding them ever, but for now, we want to make sure Cyrodiil is going well. Cyrodiil should honestly be the only form of PvP they have, other than maybe arenas, which were in Oblivion. Like real arena system, but not a battle that happens over and over and over again. That just, no. Crabby, what do you think?
So I don't agree with the traditional add battlegrounds into the game. Well, so all right, this is where I'm standing. I'm currently veteran rank 3, and I'm finding myself I feel like I don't have a whole lot to do. If they added some sort of smaller scale PvP, not necessarily battlegrounds, I might enjoy it. Just because at the moment my options are, well, I can quest for another 12 hours and get nowhere in my veteran level. I can do Cyrodiil and, Siege and Keeps and stuff, which is, fine and dandy. And I could try to do a veteran rank dungeon, which are almost impossible unless you have a pre-made group. So at the moment, I'm finding not a whole lot to do at veteran rank in veteran rank 3. So I wouldn't be opposed to Battlegrounds, but I don't know how well they would fit into the game. So I'm kind of torn on the issue.
Right. And that's where I think they could almost copy everything that the term Battleground in an arena style type play. But I don't know about you, but, well, a lot of what Battlegrounds are, like capture the flag and stuff like that, I feel like that really takes away from the lore myself, just because it's like, oh, why do we capture the flag? Now, again, if it were arena style that was supposedly non-combat, like, or I guess non-lethal, then maybe. Like, if it was literally just, like, you went into an area outside Cyrodiil, and say there were, it was all these men drilling, and it was actually just like you talk to a guy to join the arena. It's like, yeah, we're trying to practice for the battle in Cyrodiil, so we set up a flag in the middle of the room, and let's go and get it as like a war game. If they worded it in a way that it wasn't like, lethal, maybe, but the standard battlegrounds of this or this wouldn't fit into the lore. I think it would actually detract from the dark, gritty nature of ESO. But arenas, I could see, because they were in Oblivion. Thais is over here, like, waving her hand. Crabby, did you have anything else to say before I move on to her? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Thais, go ahead.
I completely disagree, and Egg is just a horrible, horrible person. It would
Ouch.
totally be... It would... Okay, according to the lore, I could see where those words would not be anywhere, but to make it lore-friendly, all they have to do is call it something like the Colosseum. And it could be as if it's a war game or just like a festival, but name it the Colosseum. But don't make it 2 versus 2, because the arenas in WoW, I hated them. But Battlegrounds, I loved. I was always in WoW's Battlegrounds because they're just so much fun. If they don't make it where it's a battle outside, that would actually, hurt the lore because it wouldn't make any sense. But if they made a Colosseum type area, that's where you went to participate in this festival where people just fight because they want to, then they can have King of the Hill. They can have Capture the Flag. They can have get through all 60 of these doors and be the first one there against the other team. All of that would be a possibility as long as they named it something that made sense.
Okay. All right. Korgoth, what do you have? Do you have anything on this subject?
I do not know anything about Battlegrounds. What I do know is that I would like to see multiple different places, sort of having small PvP battles one-on-one. I would love that. I would love that you would go in, you talk to a guy, like, say, outside of outside, say, like, you're in Ebonheart Pact, right?
Yes, sir, we are.
There isn't. You notice how there isn't much corruption in that city yet, in Riften?
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
because we're amazing and we're upright and we're the
Yeah.
best faction, right?
Yeah.
Continue.
So maybe they start to tell the story of maybe you get a little corrupted. Maybe you have a group of people outside of town who run sort of an illegal fighting ring. Maybe there's a quest you do, you get access to that. Maybe you do something for them, they do something for you.
Maybe someone stole Thais's mobster accent, because that's what it sounds like.
Sorry. But essentially, you know how people, they have like underground fighting rings, and you often encounter. I've encountered some of those in Skyrim. You go through a dungeon and you find all these people with money on them, and inside there's a ring with 2 men beating each other to death. And I feel like that would be a good thing to implement in some of the PvE territories. But as far as Cyrodiil goes, I think when they finally do release, the inner parts of, the Imperial City, Take Me Down to the Imperial City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. When they finally release that, they also need to release an arena type deal, and you can select and you should be able to select whether you want to sign up for 1-on-1 combat or 3-on-3 or 2-on-2 or 4-on-4. And you should be able to do that because it just seems like an innocent enough idea to have in the game. It's lore friendly, and it wouldn't hurt anything. Is that okay?
Right. No, I like it. Yeah, arenas were always part of the lore. I mean, to be honest, the game originally started out as an arena combat sim. Like, that's why it was the way it was. It's definitely would fit into lore. And I think, of course, Zenimax is probably already doing this, but everything they do has to be weighed against the lore. How can they do this that it will not break the lore? Because I don't want to see them adding, the same fight over and over and over again, like Battlegrounds, and capture the flag that you win by capturing so many flags. Like, what army really does that? You know what I mean? If it doesn't fit the lore of the game, I think it just really, it's more of a detriment than a benefit. Because then what happens? People are already saying it now that they sold out, to make this game. They should have never done that. Why throw fuel in the fire if you're not going to stick to the lore? Why even bother? Especially when you're dealing with such a beloved franchise as the Elder Scrolls.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just thought of something, which was at the time when they open Elsewhere, a good arena for that, or a good like miniature fighting club for that, would definitely be the monks of the Whispering Fang. I would love that if you just had like these shadowy Khajiit figures around you, just watching you while you take on another player. That would be just so cool.
And that would be a lore way of getting things into the game, and I agree with that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next question that I highlighted. Are the Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood going to have their own skill line? And if so, will they tie into the justice system you're going to implement? More specifically, the Thieves Guild? Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood will indeed have their own skill lines. And for how they will tie into justice, we're not quite ready to talk about that just yet. All right. Yeah, so they're going to have skill lines. Is there really much to say about that, Crabby?
I want to know what the Thieves Guild skill line is going to look like. The Dark Brotherhood one is going to be fairly simple. It's going to be all assassination type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the Thieves Guild skill line going to look like? That's what I want to know, because I feel like the Thieves Guild skill line will be more. I feel like you'll affect. It'll be more passive. You might affect the world a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Like your surroundings a little more than you would the the Dark Brotherhood.
Right.
So I'm actually interested about that.
I have a feeling it'll be very similar to the Mages and Fighters Guild perks, which are like Intimidate. Whereas you get a special
bribe.
Yeah, like bribe. You would get bribe, and a lot of it would be passive, such as when you steal money, like when they do have the justice system come out for that kind of stuff. Maybe the ability to, I don't know, get more loot out of this or do more of this. Whatever the case may be, I have a feeling that their skill line will be mostly passives, and maybe like the only ability they get is bribe, where if a guard gets you, you get the ability to bribe. And I actually really like that, because most MMOs generally don't have, like, I've done this several times where you talk to people and they ask for money and you can literally hand over money to them. I know it sounds weird, but that doesn't happen in MMOs. So the ability to go, either you're gonna face consequences or you can pay us, 1,000 gold. In most MMOs, you don't do that. But in this game, they already have a precedence for giving money away for no real reason. My goodness, I gave money away to some beggars under a bridge because I felt bad for them, and it gave me nothing. Like, I got nothing out of it.
Experience. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But it's true. They do. They have it's already set as a precedent in the game to be charitable or to give money away for seemingly no benefit. Anyone else? Korgoth, do you have anything to say about that?
The skill lines?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. I would like to see some actual like combat skills for the Thieves Guild, and here's what I would like. And I don't know how they would pull this off. I don't know what it would cost. Maybe magicka, maybe stamina, maybe a little of both. But Thieves Guild Hireling as one of the abilities for it, just because you have to really get creative when it comes to actual like action type abilities for the Thieves Guild. I would say a large amount of it should be stealth abilities if it's going to be in combat. But as you've already brought up, bribe as a speech option, I think it's already no doubt that would be one of the passives in there. But I also want to talk a little bit about the Dark Brotherhood skill line, if that's okay. And I know that, it probably will be assassination skill lines, but I would like to see a full-blown worshippers of Sithis skill line, because that's really what the Dark Brotherhood are.
Right.
Because you're talking about not just Shadow or Void, but the original Void. These are the followers of Sithis. These are the ultimates in assassination. And
Was this before or after the Night Mother?
this
Because
this game,
I know the Night Mother is more prevalent in the Dark Brotherhood, and
yeah.
Sithis is more prevalent in the Morag Tongue.
I believe the
It's
Night Mother,
actually the other way around.
Is it the other way around?
Morid Tong actually worship Menthala more. They honored her more, and Sithis was always kind of there. But the if you read the lore about the separation of the Dark Brotherhood came about when this Morid Tong female, Dark Elf, Dunmer, said that she had a vision from Sithis and that he came to her, and she became the Dark Mother. And a lot of the Morid Tong said, no, she really is the Dark Mother.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember that now.
Yeah. And essentially with that, I would like to see things like Shadow of Sithis, which is like a permanent thing that you could put on your character that would increase their level of, increase house not being detected, basically. Like if you had light armor and that on, when sneaking, you could be almost undetectable, you know? Not in PvP, of course, that would have to change, but in PvE.
The Nook actually just said a pretty neat thing. Offense ability that lets you sell junk in the field. I like that.
That would be fantastic.
I actually like that idea.
Yeah, I agree. What
That's
was his
really
name?
cool. The Nook. He's in the chat.
Nook?
Yep.
Thank you, Nook.
All
I
right.
give you a mental hug.
Dace, you have anything on Dark Brotherhood and Thieves?
I just have a little snippet here. If they're gonna add, like, if there's a possibility for them to put bribe into the Thieves Guild, then they should put torture into the Dark Brotherhood, because then you would have intimidate, bribe. What's the nice one?
Persuade.
Persuade, and then you would have torture. All each are different ways to get information or things like that. So if they're gonna add bribe, then add torture, because it would work.
What, like,
like
you reach out and grab the guy's hand, shove a dagger through it? Like, what's going on here?
That's what I was gonna say. I love that idea, but I feel like it'd be kind of hard to portray that in a conversation with an NPC.
Yeah, like,
Depends how well they redo the facial animations, because we know we're going to talk about that later on too.
Remember, it is M for mature.
I know, thank goodness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I thought it was a good suggestion.
Yes, I really like your wife right now, Ag. I really like your wife.
Well, maybe that's one of us, because I'm a little creeped out.
That makes one person on the show.
I'm creeped out at the moment. They should jump right to torture. All right, let's move on. Maybe she'll forget. Are there plans on having achievements mean something in the near future? Are they specifically for gamer completionists? And Zenimax answers, they will unlock dies when the die system goes in.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
It's delightful.
That's all I have to say on
Indeed.
that. That is awesome.
So, Dace, you have anything to say about that? I mean, there's not a lot to it. They're like,
That's just going to do nothing but feed my completionist nature. And in Guild Wars 2, you know me. I had 300 plus dies. I was always changing what color my armor was. So this could get really dangerous for me.
Right. Okay. Well, that is the end of our game news section, and we are going to move on to our Elder Scrolls discussion topic. And this week, we've decided we're actually going to talk about the Road Ahead article that was done on May 1st. So first off, I'm going to have Thais take it from here, and she's going to read off the first section of the Road Ahead article. Go ahead.
Alright, as we reach the 4-week mark of ESO and are about to embark on our first major update, now is a good time to talk about what we've been doing for the game in the past month, what we're working on currently, and what exciting new content and systems we plan to add over the next few months. First and foremost, as I posted in my mini update this week, we're working every day to reduce gold farming and botting, which detract from the gameplay experience for everyone. You may have seen customer support GMs in the game over the last week actively banning bots in dungeons. We're also doing a lot of work behind the scenes to keep the game honest and will continue to do so. Please keep helping us by reporting botting and spamming activity in-game. We're also continuing to fix bugs as we find them, and as players report them to us. In a world as large as ESO's, with endless variations of gameplay by players, it is impossible for Q&A to identify all bugs before launch. While we're working hard to find and close them quickly, but we're working hard to find and close them quickly. We've fixed many quest blockers, especially in Zone, NPC Guild, and main story quests, but we know there are still others. These affect far fewer players, but they're annoying when encountered, and we will address them. Fixes are getting patched in during our regular weekly updates, and of course, Update 1, see below, will contain many more. As you may have seen from the patch notes on PTS, Update 1 has been available to our PTS players for a week. The first update contains much more than just Craglorn, our first adventure zone. It also contains lots of tweaks and bug fixes above and beyond what we've been doing on the live servers. Keep in mind that the PTS patch notes aren't final. More changes will be made as we continue testing. Here's a summary of what's new in Update 1. Craglorn, the first adventure zone, specifically created for groups of veteran ranked 1 and above players. Trials, which are 12-player raid-type instances for veteran ranked characters, featuring completion time leaderboards. Death Cap. You can now see who killed you and what ability they were using. This is invaluable information in Dungeons, PvP, and Craglorn. Underdog bonuses in Cyrodiil. You'll get more alliance points while fighting for an alliance with a lower population in your campaign. Animation tweaks and polish. Combat ability balance changes and fixes. Class ability tweaks and updates. Content bug fixes, especially edge cases where quests could become desynced. And much, much more. Check out the final patch notes when they are posted in the forums. Update 1 will hit the live servers as soon as testing is completed on PTS. Stay tuned for news about the exact date you'll be able to play it.
All right, first off, the one thing I really like about this is the fact they did not give a date for Craglorn, but they said as soon as testing is complete. Hopefully they'll actually, do some pretty decent testing on this. Now, a lot of this stuff up here we've talked about pretty extensively the past probably 2 weeks or so. So we're going to kind of skip over some of that. There's some pretty neat things in there. Like I know we were talking about the animation tweaks and polish, because we all know the pretty funny animation bugs such as the jaws becoming unsynced. I think it's hilarious, honestly.
I love it when you talk to an NPC and their head is staring straight up into the sky. Has that happened to you yet?
It has not. The worst I've seen is the crooked jaw.
Yeah, it has happened to me twice where I'll talk to an NPC and his neck is like broken and he's staring straight up at the sky. It is so funny.
Wow.
I love that.
Wow. I've not seen that.
Yeah.
Now
sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Cora.
Yeah, no, the worst I got was just people with their mouths closed and I hear their voice.
No. That's not even all that bad.
I hear enough voices in my head. I really don't want to hear more.
Now, here's the thing that I really wanted to point out of this article, and also the reason why I've titled this episode "The Road Less Traveled." I like to try to bring a little bit of meaning every time we title an episode, and the main reason why I want to say this is because Matt from Zenimax goes through this and actually highlights the ESO reviews that Crabby, I know both me and you were talking about very extensively as they were coming out. The thing that I found rather remarkable is the fact that they acknowledge going, yeah, we got a lot of bad reviews. There's
I'm
a lot
surprised.
Most MMOs, my goodness, let's look at WildStar.
Most companies in this country will not acknowledge criticism like this.
Sure, exactly. It's you'll see places going, oh yeah, like so and so magazine gave us a 10 out of 10, or this website rated us an excellent play, or you never see the reviews that went, it wasn't that great, or it wasn't this. Now, I don't agree with a lot of the reviews that went out, but it's still nice that they acknowledge the low reviews. And what he goes on to say is that they've been actively reading the reviews. They want to know why they got bad reviews and are going forward and trying to fix it. And I myself am very, very pleased with Zenimax, because I actually think it was, I don't even want to say honorable thing to do, but it is something, the road less traveled. Most developers will not acknowledge the negative. That was just me grabbing my chest. Okay. My wife's trying to give me an anatomy lesson when I'm just... Are you
having a heart attack?
No, sir.
Is everything okay?
Everything is fine, but I'm very...
You feel pain down the left side of your body.
If we ever had a show where you could see me, I'm very animated when I talk. I would make an interesting public speaker.
He's talking so adamantly and with such love that he's over there grasping his chest like he's trying to hold his heart because he loves it so much, but he's holding the wrong part of his chest. So I'm over here telling him your heart's on the other side of your body, babe.
I love this long right here. It is my favorite.
So my gesture of love for the game turned into telling me I don't know my anatomy. Okay. It was just a gesture for emphasis. Anyway, going forward, I think that's awesome that they're willing to look at negative reviews, and hopefully they'll take a lot from it, because some had weight, some didn't. But if you can change stuff and make people interested in the game, that's awesome. And what better than looking at negative reviews from the jerks and stuff like that out there and finding out why they didn't like it. Sure. If it's bad, throw it away. If not, then keep going forward and make the game better. For those of us who are already fans of the game, that just makes it better for us, because they're going to take those reviews and go, okay, well, these people didn't like it. Let's improve on that. And that can only make it better for those of us who didn't find the problem that those other people were seeing.
Yeah.
Now, this is the part that I really wanted to discuss, and this is what we want to talk about. The coming in future updates, along with bug fixes.
We can just skip this part. It's not interesting at all.
Oh, it's not interesting at all?
No,
all right.
no.
We're not going to have a discussion topic for this week then. All right. Let's go down and we'll talk about these individual systems. A system that allows group players to see each other even when they're in different phases. I think that's awesome. Thace, we're going to do reverse order. What about you?
I don't have any friends, so I have no one to really look at that's in a different phase.
Okay, going off of you. Korgoth, how about you?
Okay, now this is going to be a big help for me. So different phases meaning PvP and PvE?
Different phases such as you completed a quest.
You didn't save the city.
Oh, okay, so I stopped a werewolf invasion. You did not stop a werewolf invasion.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I would love this. I have, for some reason, well, not really for some reason, because of stuff like Twilight and stuff like that, a lot of the people that I play with just can't stand any mention of vampire or werewolf in any show or game that they like. They just keep that as far away from them as possible. And when it comes to that specific quest, for me, there's a city called Camlorn, and you can save it in the Daggerfall Covenant. You can save it from a werewolf named Falchu. Essentially, if I'm in there, and for me, it's a peaceful place because I already saved the town, so most of the enemies are gone for me. If someone else was coming in there with me, yes, I would like to see them, but wouldn't I also see them get mauled by something invisible that I couldn't hit?
That's what I'm confused about.
Actually, you wouldn't even be able to see them. During beta, I had a friend who I went to go help on Bleak Rock Isle, and because I had finished Bleak Rock Isle, like when we were in the non-phase parts, like in between like the cities and the little objectives, we were running right next to each other. It was a great old time. But the second we got into an objective area that had a quest, she would disappear and I would be left standing there because, like, one particular instance was bandits were everywhere. Well, I went through and killed all the bandits and I saved the mine. So when I went in, there was no one there. But when she went in, she disappeared. She's like, I'm seeing all these bandits. Come over and help me. I'm like, I don't even see you anymore. So that's essentially, they're working on a way to allow us to see each other when we're in different phases. So maybe what I'm thinking is they're going to do something along the lines of whoever is like group leader, you'll join their phase. And actually, I had a friend who was interested in buying the game. She played during beta and didn't like it because of the phasing issue. And as we were talking, I was getting her really into the game, and she said, did they ever fix the phasing? Because I'd want to play with my boyfriend, and he plays at different hours, so I want to be able to go back and help him, because I'm not going to wait for his lazy bum. But I do want to go back and help him when he wants to play, but the way it was before, couldn't do it. And as much as I would love to have her in the game, I could not recommend ESO to her. I said, no, I wouldn't buy it yet. It's not ready. If that's a major selling point for you, if that's, if I don't have this, I don't want to play, don't get it. It's not ready yet. I'm definitely going to keep her in the loop for when this does fix, but, I wasn't going to say, oh yeah, go get the game. It's great. And it not have one thing that was really a hot button issue for her fixed. Next up is a justice system. Steal and kill NPCs and deal with consequences if you are caught. I know this was I wouldn't say it's a big thing. I think it was kind of hit or miss because a lot of people who came in looking at an MMO realized this would be kind of hard to bring into the game. But I know it was, for the single-player Elder Scrolls people, this is kind of an immersion-breaking thing. Korgoth, what do you think?
It is a staple in Morrowind, Oblivion, especially in Oblivion, and in Skyrim. Well, not so much in Skyrim, given that in Skyrim it's pretty much just annoying. But in Oblivion, if you commit a crime, you don't just get caught. You you lose some gold and you lose skills. You lose points in those. You know what I'm talking about? When you get out of jail, yeah. You find minus 15 speechcraft, minus this, minus that. And, that's a huge staple for hardcore Elder Scrolls fans. If they could find any way to implement this, any way, I'm all for it. I say it's of high importance for them to put in the game. It's something that I am waiting on the edge of my seat for, and I can sit here for a very long time.
Nice. Crabby, what do you think?
So this is going to be a tricky one. Now in my head, excuse me, I see 3 scenarios how this is going to work out. Scenario 1, there's going to be specific NPCs in major cities and villages that you can only steal from and kill, which would be the worst situation because it would be very lame. Because you'd be like, oh, there's that one NPC I can steal from and hopefully not get caught. Yay. The second way they could do it, any NPC you can steal from or potentially kill. But then there's the problem is you're playing an MMO. You're killing possibly quest givers, people that have dialogue that somebody wants to talk to, and now you can't talk to them because they're dead. Or situation 3, which you steal from an NPC. Actually, no. Oh, so all right, my third situation actually doesn't make sense now that kill is in there, but it's going to be tricky to do this because you're either going to piss a lot of people off who don't want to kill NPCs, or you're going to make it very boring where there's only specific ones you can kill, specific ones.
They already said you could kill non-essential NPCs. So anybody with a quest is essential. So
okay, so it's like
people.
Skyrim almost. It's almost like Skyrim. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that now. Where did they say? Now they said that because I don't recall seeing that.
It was already said in something that I read before that it would be non-essential NPCs.
I saw it too.
If that's the case, then that's perfect. I mean, how cool would it be? You walk into a tavern and there's just some guy in the corner drinking and you just shoot him in the face.
Well, there's already like
Yeah.
let's be honest. Like Thais and I, we go every time we get to a new city, we talk to everyone. There are bumloads of non-essential NPCs that literally have one line. Some people you can't even talk to. There's
Now,
a lot.
the biggest question is, when they add children to the game, will they be essential?
Probably, yes.
Yeah, probably.
Damn it.
You cannot
Because
kill
of the-
kids.
Yeah, like you
You know how
can't.
hard I tried to kill Braith every single time I went into Whiterun? I mean, it was crazy.
You are a horrible, horrible person. Anyone else have anything else to say on this one before we move on from a justice system?
Finally have an opportunity to RP a serial killer. So, other than that, let's move on.
That's delightfully disturbing. All right.
Dexter Morgan. Sorry.
I never killed anybody. Like, never. I didn't kill anybody. I did not like killing people, even to feed my Daedric weapons. Did not do it. But I did steal everything I could find. If it wasn't bolted to the floor, I stole it. So I'm
you don't
excited.
like killing people, but you want an option when you talk to somebody where you can randomly torture them.
Yeah, why not? Torture doesn't always have to end in death. Isn't that the
Yeah.
point of torture?
Yeah.
Well, it's yeah,
So-
sure. All right.
So I was thinking
All
about
right.
the animations for that. Bamboo under the fingernails, waterboarding. What specific kind of torture would we be talking about?
You would have to spec into it. All right, we're moving on. Migration of European mega server to European data center. Okay, enough said about that. Field of view adjustment.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all I have to
no
say.
idea what this means. Like, when I'm in first-person view, I see a lot. I'm happy with first-person
When
view.
I'm in first-person view, I see a third of my weapon, and it drives me off the wall.
Yeah, but
That-
if you
that's
think
my
about it,
problem.
first person to third person, it should be that drastic of a change. Because you're now seeing through the character's eyes. It would not make sense if you could see as much from the character's eyes that you can see from behind the character.
But, like, it's almost like if you're seeing through your own... I don't know, you probably don't have a stick near you, but if you have a large object near you, tuck your elbow in next to your side and hold it next to yourself. That's what it feels like to me. It's not like I'm holding it outstretched in front of me. It's like I'm holding it into me.
If I could interject here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, I do agree with Crabby in that sense. Yes, it doesn't bother me, but to have it would so much increase immersion for me if I could have that sense of I can see a little bit of my forearm, I can see my hands, I can see the handle and grip of my weapon with the blade. Skyrim feels.
What if I'm role playing a character with a lazy eye? What do I do there?
Well, then you get a second camera and you have one facing in a very weird direction and one right in
Yes.
front of you.
Yeah.
All right, that was mildly offensive. Let's I agree. Like some people don't like the view because it feels like you're real up close.
It feels like your eyeballs are coming out of your head. Like
Right.
it's too close to me for me.
I feel like it's fine. I never ever see a problem with the first person view.
I think what will be interesting is when you get the first person view to adjust it and see the difference that it's going to allow you to make. You're never going to see more than what you can in third person, but I think the hardest part is understanding what the field of view is actually going to do and how much it's going to allow us to adjust. I think it'll be interesting to see you adjust it to see what works for you and what doesn't. So, armor dyeing and tinting. I don't like it.
Get out.
I'm gonna say it right now. I don't like it. I don't like
This is
it.
what you need, Ag. This is what you need to do. You need to make a character that wears light armor and craft all the light armor and tell me that there aren't bizarre colors already built into the game. Because I'm telling you now, bright purple is in the game. Bright green is in the game. Like, there's stuff like that are already in the game.
Do not like it.
You're crazy. I'm wearing
Base, go
bright
ahead.
green armor and I hate it.
Go
All
ahead.
right. See, the problem I have with the die system is that in Guild Wars 2, it was a perfect die system. You had multiple regions that you could die. You had colors ranging from the brightest green you could imagine to the ugliest yellow that exists to the darkest purple that exists in nature. It the colors varied so much. It was a beautiful, amazing dyeing system. But then you go to ESO, where the colors are darker. The game is sinister. The game always has this feel of foreboding doom. Adding a dye system just seems idiotic when there's no fantastic, life altering colors that you can really use. It's not an option.
I disagree because I want if I all right, so if I like dark gray but I do not like the gritty brown, I want to dye it dark gray. I
But
still
that's
think
so boring.
it's not boring if it's what you like.
If I could interject again,
Go for
I
it.
apologize. When you're talking about dying, as someone who one of my alts is a Nord in the Aldmeri Dominion, and I'm trying to basically make him as much like, say, a Ronin samurai as possible. So I have a robe on, and I have a two-handed red guard sword, which so far is the closest thing to a katana I could really find. And with him, it's just that all the robes in the game are just this dull color. And there's nothing bright or vivid that would really, even the Altmer, which are supposed to be this bright, vivid, color-popping armor, and they're supposed to be so unique in their armor styles and traits and whatnots. There's no design on the robe. There's nothing there that says this is unique. And I for that purpose, I have to lean more towards for dyeing because I have an alt that does use light armor. And while my main does use heavy armor, and I wouldn't trade the natural colors of iron, steel, and orchelnium for the world, when it comes to light armor, when it comes to clothing, yes, I'm in perfect agreement with Crabby. And Theus, I am sorry I have not agreed with you on anything yet. Please do not emote torture me.
I'm so angry right now. Time to torture you.
The smash. Anyway, all right. I don't like dyes. Generally, because if you only do muted dyes, people would complain that they're not bright enough, and if you do too bright dyes, it won't feel like Elder Scrolls anymore.
Dave, it's the only thing we've ever agreed on.
Oh man, looks like you're a married couple.
Oh my. Yeah, me on fire. No to dye. I don't think it fits the world. The world's dark and its world's gritty.
If they keep the color schemes fine, I think it'll be perfect.
It would depend what they're going to introduce, but we all know.
But I'm telling you now, don't be upset when you see purple dye because there's purple light armor already. I'm talking like bright purple. Like, why is this in the game?
Like, why
purple?
is it? I don't know. I don't like it. Again, it's the same with the Gar mounts. It's setting a bad precedent for things I really don't want to see. And, this is going to be sad to say, but the thing that would probably get me to quit ESO would probably be a bad dye system or weird mounts. If I saw anything like that, that would make me quit ESO if they broke the lore.
I don't think they're that stupid.
I would hope not.
In all seriousness, I don't think you're going to see like really terrible mounts. I don't think you're going to see really outlandish dyes. I really don't.
We can only hope, but whenever you open doors like this, it tends to happen. Okay, I lost my page. Okay, 2 new veteran dungeons, Crypt of Hearts and City of Ash. Well, that's great, except for Crabby can't even finish the ones we have out now.
Yeah, sure. Yay for more.
You know what's really funny? I actually like things to be very difficult, but I remember watching Entropy Rising doing some videos for veteran rank, and when I saw them, I'm like, man, they look easy. Like, they really did. They looked easy, but
they're really not a joke. If you go in there with a disorganized group, you're gonna have a bad time. If you French fry when you should have pizza, you're gonna have a bad time. I mean, it's gonna happen.
That must be a Boston thing. I'm not really sure. New Craglorn with new trials. So the Serpent.
Hey, new raid already! Yay!
Yeah, they're planning on a new raid already. Well, remember when we first started talking about Craglorn, I said about having each one of the Celestial Guardians being a trial, and they had 2 of them. I'm like, it's only going to be a natural step. The next ones they're going to do is Thief and Serpent. It looks like they're already doing that. Serpent's here, and I imagine Thief will be the last one before they open up a new adventure zone. So they'll do the Mage and Warrior, then they'll do the Serpent, and then they'll open up the Thief, and then they'll move on once they concluded that story, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have anything to say about that? I mean, it's kind of straightforward. Those 2 things kind of go hand in hand. Thais, go ahead.
I don't like snakes. I'm not happy about this.
You don't like snakes. You don't like spiders. You don't like anything fun.
I like torture. Torture's fun.
Oh yeah, my bad. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Delightfully creepy. Korgoth, what do you got for me?
I just really hope that the Warrior Celestial sounds like Macho Man Randy Savage, and that's all I have to say.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you've come into the Warrior's domain. Bonesaw is ready.
Oh my god.
I will fall off my chair laughing if that's what it sounds like.
They're pretty sweet.
Increasing the ability to pick up items in the world. I think this is a great quality of life change as well as an awesome immersion change. Again, this is one of those things that I think will tie in with the justice system that will make it feel more like an Elder Scrolls game. Thais, what do you got for me?
More stuff that I can hoard. It makes me very happy to hear. It really does. Although I have to admit that by now, when we go into a new town, we spend hours searching and talking to every person and searching every barrel, and it takes us a really long time. So if there's even more for us to search, it's going to take even longer.
Indeed. Korgoth, what do you think?
Can you repeat the statement?
Increased ability to pick up items in the world. So they'll essentially make more things interactable. So like the books on the table. Like I know they said about the armor racks that have swords and stuff that you can't interact with.
So on this, if I could reach out and hug Nick Kunkel, Matt Fyroor, Paul Sage, especially Lawrence Schick. If I could just hug and hold all those people.
I second Lawrence Schick because he is my hero.
Yes, he's the only man whose voice I cannot imitate, and it drives me crazy. Him and Stephen Bloom are just out of my range, and it makes me just want to admire them and spend time with them. I don't know. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It gets to me. Anyway, so what I was saying before I was gushing about all these different people that I basically just told you I want to snuggle, and I just really agree with this, and it just the immersion, the relief and the weight that takes off my shoulders when I hear words like this. It's just so much, because there's so much in this game, because I know it's rough, I know it's starting out, that I just get worried about, and this just helps out so much with that. The stress level of this game has gone down, enjoyment has gone up. It's for me.
Right. Crabby, what about you?
Cool.
Okay.
I'd like to see more things to touch.
Okay, moving on. Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood, and Spellcraft. And we already touched on those earlier, but both of those are awesome. Horse racing. WTF, Zenimax? Huh?
Yeah.
Crabby, let's start with you this time.
What? I mean, is it player horse racing? Do you bet on NPCs? Yeah, it's not Elder Scrolls, but it's also something I wasn't expecting. I could
Mm-hmm.
see horse racing fitting into any universe, really. I I, I just don't know. Um,
This is one of
okay.
those things that kind of leave me with a giant question mark above
Yeah, like
my
I'm
head.
scratching my
Like,
head going, well, it
huh?
could be cool. It could be what is what? I just, I mean, okay, cool, I guess.
All right,
And
this to me, when they announced that this was going to be something in Guild Wars 2, I was really excited because I thought I would actually be able to race things. But you couldn't. You had to bet, and it was all luck. It was all random. That's all it was. So this makes me think back to Chocobo racing in 7. Am I actually going to be able to race with the horses? I want to be on the horse. I want to participate in the racing. I want to have to feed my horse, make sure it's really strong with enough stamina. Are you going to have to balance stamina and speed? What exactly is this going to entail? I can't wait till they open up more of this and tell us what it's really about.
I honestly can't see it being play or anything because with latency in there, with it, you can't use the standard horses because everyone would just get the light horse and feed it all the same, the max thing, and then you run at the exact same speed. There's
Or
no.
you know what? Let me cut you off. This is how they're going to do it. I just figured out how they're going to do this. It's going to be an instanced one person or maybe four person, in quotes, dungeon.
Hmm?
And it's going to have a leaderboard like the trials, and you're going to have to do it by time. It's going to be a time thing. One person goes at a time. If you can beat that time, then there you go.
Hmm.
That's what I see.
mm,
Because they obviously already know how to start a timer with trials, and they know how to end it. So why don't they just put that into a smaller thing, but see how long it takes you to get your horse from hair to hair? That's how they're going to do it. I know.
I-
I just figured it out.
I'm still sitting here with a giant WTF above my head, going, "Huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, even if
uh,
they do it that way, it's still kind of like, all right, sweet.
Korgoth, you seem like you have something to say, buddy. What do you got?"
yeah, well, I agree with you with the WTF over your head. I agree with that heavily. As someone who's so into the lore, in the rough climate that is Tamriel, no matter where you are, horses are hard enough to raise and breed domestically. To have them racing is just unhealthy. But I mean, but also, I just this is to me is part of why I quit DC Universe Online because they focused less on immersion and more on stuff like, oh well, the Flash has prepared races for you throughout the city. I don't understand the purpose of races at all. I just don't in an MMO. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I can't see it as a good as any way. It needs to feel important. It needs to feel like
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing matters.
Sure.
And when it comes to racing, it just feels like something you're doing as like, well, this is time I could spend crafting. This is time I could spend on this or that.
Sure. I
It
know it seems out of place, and I don't know.
feels like
And
the wrong direction.
exactly. And with MMOs, I'll say it, they don't have the control needed for a racing game. Like single player games when you do racing, it's all about tight controls. As much as I love most MMOs, they don't have that kind of tight control. Not enough to make it that, competitive enough that you'd actually find it interesting. It's because you're still dealing with server latency and server reply to the client. So WTF, Zenimax. WTF. Okay, moving on to the Dragon Star Arena. Similar to Trials, but built for a group of 4.
A timed veteran dungeon with a leaderboard. It's what it says to me, which is okay, I guess.
Base, go ahead. You're got something to say.
I think it sounds stupid. Just stupid. If you're gonna have trials, okay, then have trials. There's no reason to make smaller trials because when you're in the trials anyway, they already stated that there's going to be certain points where you're gonna have to break off into these groups of 4. So you're already going to have that smaller group mentality within the larger group. And there's going to be options for you to explore that possibility in the trials that they're already creating. So making a whole other version that's for smaller groups just seems like a waste to me. All that knowledge and all that time could be better spent somewhere else in the game rather than here.
I'm going to disagree because, I mean, options aren't a problem. What's the difference between 10-man and 25-man raids in Warcraft? It was essentially the same thing. Some people don't like big group content, and I think this is a way of allowing competitiveness at a smaller level.
But the groups only go to size 12. It's not like the groups are going to 40 where you're going to feel claustrophobic in a dungeon. I could see if they were bigger, having the need for a smaller group, but the groups aren't even that big in the first place. It's needless.
It's pretty much challenge mode from Warcraft. That's what I see it as.
And I agree with that, but we're dealing with different people here at the same time, because you're dealing, like, even when we're talking about Warcraft between 40-man and 25, it was still a group mentality. You're bringing in players who don't even like grouping. Single-player guys who don't want to group with anyone. It's going to be hard enough getting them with 4 people than it will with 12. I mean, because you're dealing with a different dynamic here than the Warcraft player base who understood what raids were, that endgame content was a group thing that you had to get together, whereas I still see people in the forums going, why can't I do this by myself? Why can't I go into Craglorn solo? You know, you're still dealing with a different type of player base because this game has its 20 years of roots in a single-player game. So we don't think 12 players is much. I don't. But there's people who don't even want to group with one other player. They don't want a duo. Why would they want to go with 12? So trying to, provide a competitive source for less people, I like it. And to be honest, even as a raiding person, let's say we're missing people, to do our 12-man Craglorn raid, we could then break off into 2 different groups and do Dragonstar Arena.
And leave 2 people high and dry. Yeah, that's fair. So instead of trying to find 2 more people, we're just gonna leave 2 people stranded and do it by ourselves in a group of 4. Oh yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with Theus on this one. Theus. I agree with Theus.
Just call her silly. That's what I do.
Silly. You're so silly.
You're so silly. I don't know. I mean, something tells me Dragonstar Arena, it's not going to have the rewards of Trials, but it'll have the competitiveness of Trials, and that's okay with me.
I like it. Actually, I really do.
I don't care either way. That's where I'm falling. If it's there, cool. If it's not, meh.
You know what? I look at it as more things to do in the game, and as an MMO, what is an MMO other than a group of events that are time sinks for you to do?
You know what else is something else to do? Horse racing.
Shut up about that. Dragonstar, hey, I hope they have achievements for doing the Dragonstar Arena stuff.
Horse racing? Yeah, I know. I can't wait.
I'm going to make some fried Crabby.
Yeah, someone get me some butter and tongs. All right, I'm going to grab the next 2 sections here. Improvements to fishing and crafting system improvements. Other than achievements, is fishing even worth anything?
I think provisioning.
No, they took that away.
Go
to ESO Head and look at the data mined information on fish. All of them are trophies now. Not a single one of them are for provisioning.
Well, I'm glad I never went into provisioning then.
Yeah, whatever. I'm curious how they're going to improve crafting, because crafting seems pretty solid to me. I mean, I guess I would like the ability to craft multiple things at once, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with crafting. It's pretty good now.
I love the crafting. I do.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
I love the crafting. I love blacksmithing and woodworking and all that stuff in this game. The one thing that always gets to me is provisioning. Like, for instance, this gift I got in the mail from one of my viewers over on my channel. Great guy, his name's Short Sheath. That's sort of his internet handle. And he sent me these level 50 fortified mud crab cakes. And I'm like, that sounds good. Some fortified mud crab cakes. Like, when I'm hungry, I really need that fortified mud crab cake.
Fortified mud crab cakes.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it was a sweet gift, all things considered. But at the same time, it just made me start thinking about provisioning in general, and it made me start thinking of just, yes, I enjoy cooking in this game, but does cooking really need to be this big thing? I mean, you really only have one quick slot for potions and things like that in this game.
Now, I need to cut you off because there's actually a mod, an add-on, that will allow you to use keys F1 through F5 to hit any of those keys to use any of your potion-esque quick slots.
I like it.
I like that too. I will admit, I like that too.
I mean,
let's okay, sorry.
No, I was gonna say provisioning's pretty overpowered. I mean, the stat buffs you get are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting into the green or the blue and purple recipes,
it's out of control.
You wouldn't want to go into Cragworn without them.
No.
Okay, yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, let's say you're playing without add-ons.
Yeah, no, I totally see. But see, the thing is, the food buffs last for like a half an hour, though. You use it once, and then you hold Q, go back to your potion. That's what I do. I mean, I actually don't even use that add-on that I was just supporting, but I know it's there.
All right, that does make sense. I think you make a reasonable argument to it, but at the same time, my argument would still be that, I'm into blacksmithing. I always improve my weapons and armor as much as I can, because I get a bunch of honing stones because I did this tip that Force Strategy Gaming actually put out, because I have 3 different ults, and lore-wise, they're basically 3 little Argonian kids that like my main character, but just because I have to have that immersion. But essentially, they're his blacksmithing students, and they will, because I use them only to get the passive perk in blacksmithing, which is the hireling. Mm-hmm. And by the way, those emails are really sexual if you've ever read them.
They are ridiculous.
Yeah, and also, so essentially, my character is just a guy who gets some and once I get it on them, I put that in the bank. So then I have some more honing stones in the bank sometimes, because it does randomize what you get. Sometimes you get a honing stone. I have 3 yellow, blue, and green chances to get that honing stone. I say yellow, blue, and green because those are the color of the Argonians. With that, they put that in the bank. So essentially, I'm just a guy who gets sexual letters from teenage Argonians, and I get honing stones, and that's nice.
Well, Korgoth is going to prison. Interesting. Well, yeah, I do that same trick as well with my bank alts.
The awkward pause. Just the awkward pause after I said that from Theis and Crabby.
Well, better NPC facial animations. Well, thank goodness.
Oh my god, no! Oh my god, no! I'm talking over you because yes, this drives me off the wall. When I see NPCs talk, I want to rip their heads in half because they look so dumb. Like their jaw just it just moves like totally lifeless, and I want to see like the lips moving up a little bit, maybe a little I don't know, anything to add a little more animation to their faces.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The body language of these NPCs is, because it really comes to how well can they make the NPC match how the voice actor is saying what they're saying, because I've heard the same lines repeated before, but what I haven't heard is, because we have some voice actors, you'll notice this, who say a line very dully, or some actors who say a line very provocatively, and some actors who will say a line very serious and angry. But the body language of, say, a sad character would be happy or like very excited, or the body language of an excited character that's supposed to be saying excited dialogue would be that the body language of it is that his shoulders aren't moving, the face is very dull, it's not really responding like you'd expect an excited person would, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to cut you off
Now,
like that too. I had to go crazy.
And I'm sorry for
all right,
something.
I'm actually really torn here. I'm excited for the better NPC facial animations, but I completely disagree with Crabby and
What?
the other guy.
Korgoth.
The other
What is
guy.
it? Korgosh?
Korgoth.
Look at
Korgoth.
Skype.
All right. Is it actually saying on Skype?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it does. Look at that. Korgoth. Okay.
Oh,
The
God.
other guy.
Wow.
Because-
I'm the other guy. That's my secret identity when I save puppies from burning buildings.
When I look at NPCs and they're saying something serious, or my favorite is when I frighten them and they jump back and their expression looks frightened, or when they
the
say
same.
angry. No, the NPCs do actually move. Their faces move. But, I'm a woman. I'm able to see those very subtle intricacies in life, unlike guys who are only into the
AKA?
big picture.
AKA things that aren't really there.
Okay,
Go
their
forward.
their eyes move. I'm telling you,
But
the
they're-
only
they're-
part of their mouth that moves is their bottom jaw. Is their jaw. That's it.
Now that's true. Only their bottom jaw moves, but the rest of their face does. When they're speaking, it's only up and down with their jaw. But their eyebrows will look angry. Their eyes will look sad. The NPCs do have expressions. Or my favorite is when I frightened the girl and she like jumped in the air and did this thing with her hands like, "Oh gosh, what is this?" So
Their faces do have expressions, but they're static though. When you first talk to that NPC, he will be sad, happy, whatever, and his face will stay that way till you're done talking to him. It won't change.
But you see, to me, that's enough of an animation to get a point across. He's obviously sad. His face looks sad. Now, if all the faces look the same, I'd be kind of upset, but they don't. This does excite me, though. I can't wait to see how they improve this, but I just had to add in that I do think there are facial animations already in place.
They just need to move. They need to
Yeah.
change. They need to go from happy to sad in a conversation.
With me, it's really because I have seen the work. I recognize the voice actors that I hear in this from a lot of animes and from a lot of cartoons that I watched not only as a kid but a lot of adult animes as well. The same character on a very famous anime, Cowboy Bebop. A character called Spike Spiegel, a very serious and very influential character. Misha, I knew your name until I started talking.
You're reading the Skype message.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I don't know what those are. I thought that was just like little word bubbles. I thought there was a problem with Skype. I haven't used it before. I'm sorry. But no, and the person who voice acted Spike Spiegel, who is a very influential character throughout just the anime fans in America and UK, that same voice comes from a man named Stephen Bloom. I hear Stephen Bloom in this game. He was Spike Spiegel, who's also Mugen in Samurai Champloo. Check out his work. A plug. But really, any character voiced with that deep incentive should never be happy or intimidated. Just that man should not ever try to be intimidated or just like that. And I've intimidated Stephen Bloom before, and I felt so bad about it because, this is wrong. This is sacrilege. It's because I am a fan of different voice actors and voice actresses, just because of that. And I guess that's a personal thing for me. So basically, the point I'm trying to make is, yes, for me, it's that level of immersion of hearing that voice with that character. But it's also, I can see how you would disagree because I am a very weird person.
All right, I'm going to cut the conversation short because this is a lot of talk about better NPC facial animation.
It's
Dear
important.
goodness. Moving on, Guild kiosks, because they're updating Guild functionality. We talked about this. Guild store interface updates. Please add us a name line feature. Customizable Guild insignias, tabards, Guild ranks, and Guild kiosks. Now this one, I don't even know how many people are going to use.
This is interesting.
The Guild store is open to everyone that are available to the highest bidding guild. So they'll have these Guild kiosks in the cities, and people will be able to bid on them, and then your Guild store appears on them.
I mean, I guess if like, oh man, if Trading Guild Oompa Loompas that has 1 million things for sale has this kiosk, I might go check it out.
Right.
You know?
I don't know. I like it. I actually do like it better than a global auction house, but I don't know. I just don't think it's gonna. I think it'll be interesting. Depends how much the bidding is or what it's gonna go into it.
It's gonna skyrocket. It's gonna go nuts, I think.
Yeah. So guild functionality. My last one I want to touch on, which I think is gonna be awesome. And I think we did we predict this earlier on? Imperial City PvP dungeon? Say what?
Yeah, you and every other podcast and fan site on the planet.
Well, yeah, because it's the Dark Age of Camelot team.
Yeah.
It's Darkness Falls, just in Cyrodiil.
I have no idea what that is. People have tried to explain it to me. It just confuses me.
Well, anytime how Dark Age of Camelot's Darkness Falls worked, and this is how I'm going to imagine going to do the Imperial City, is this. There are essentially 3 entrances to the Imperial City. Whoever, for whatever the criteria is, whether it's whoever owns the most keeps or whatever, has access to the dungeon. They can go in, and it's a PvE dungeon. They go through, and they can farm stuff. They can go in and fight bosses and stuff like that. But as soon as the balance of power shifts, the door closes to their side. So, say Ebonheart Pact had it, and a whole bunch of Ebonheart Pact guys go in there and they're fighting around doing their dungeon stuff, and the balance of power shifts that Daggerfall Covenant now takes it. No more Ebonheart Pact people can enter the dungeon. It doesn't kick out the people who are in there, however. Now then, you're going to start seeing waves of Daggerfall people coming through the dungeon, and will be able to not only do the PvE content, but also fight off the people who are currently inside of it. That's how Darkness Falls works, and I would bet money that that's how the Imperial City PvP dungeon's going to work.
That sounds beautiful.
That does sound cool. I would love to go in there with a group of people for a night and see what happens.
I know people who specifically made what were called gank characters. They were the rogues and the rogues of the different alliances who would make the character. They leveled them up, got all this good gear, and then hid them in the dungeon when they had it, and then logged off. And they logged off inside the dungeon. Now, it didn't kick them out, and they would wait for the dungeon to flip, and then they would log on this stealthy character and start ganking low-level people and people who were in the dungeon, because the dungeon progressed that it was from multi-different levels. Now, this was before an upscaled, the upscaling that is available in this game. But I could see them sitting around hiding in the shadows, and that's their PvP, waiting for people to go in and do dungeon stuff, and then ganking them in the shadows. I like it. I like it a lot.
I do too.
So that I'm really excited for. And I mean, as much as, like we said, we predicted it, that's because almost everyone that works for ZOS now came from Mythic Entertainment, who did Dark Age of Camelot. It was as clear as day that this is what they were going to do. No real big surprise. Though I am happy to see it come in. Like, really happy, and I'm excited for it. So, anyone else have anything to say about anything we talked about? Let's go around the round table here. Crabby, anything else on this? I mean, not just this, everything, the whole article.
I'm okay. I can't believe they have put out like 2 or 3 state of the games and already a roadmap to the future for this game, and it's been out a month. That's awesome. I mean, you go like I'm not trying to bash other games, but I played Star Wars, and they'll get one of these letters maybe once or twice a year. and we've already gotten like 4. You know, so I mean, I the communication is amazing.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
The Zos has been very open with us from the start.
Now, the best thing about all this is it gets you excited, and that's what you need to do. You need to get excited to want to keep playing. So it's great. I'm happy. I love. This is a great article in itself. I mean, better facial animations is the best part of it, but still, I love it.
Nice. Korgoth, what about you? Anything else on the entire article we discussed today?
God, I do have to agree with Crabby. This is amazing that these people are already showing such intent and work on their game. It just a beautiful level of commitment here. I think that's all I can really say is, yes, I enjoy that. On player housing, that's going to be what it's going to be when it's going to be. So I can't really talk much more about that. Theus?
I really want horse racing. I had to say that to annoy Egg.
You're off the show.
Why?
You can't kick me off the show because I live with you and I will torture you and then feed on your tears.
Indeed. Okay.
These conversations should not make me want to get married.
Yeah. No. I'd love the article. For anything else, I think other companies should take a lesson from Zenimax for no other reason than like what Crabby said. Even if they don't give us dates and times, it does make you want to keep playing because you're like, hey, guess what they're doing? It's not just, man, I really hope, like, you know, like we were saying, like we want housing to be in the game. How many years have we talked about Warcraft putting housing in the game? Now, I know they outright said they were never going to do it. They didn't want to, and their philosophy was against it. That's fine, and I'm fine with that. But I know a lot of features we were always talking about that were like, man, we really would like this, and they were not very transparent up until the point where they were ready to release a, like an expansion. And all of a sudden, it was all this news right away. I like these articles going, hey, this is what we're working on for the future, because even if you're, I'll say, getting bored of the game, because people do get that way. Like I got that way in Warcraft as I was raiding on when we got near the end of a tier. It was like, okay, I'm kind of bored. I wish there was something else to do. And it, because of how bad Blizzard was with letting people know of things, I can't tell you how many times I quit the game because they weren't telling us anything was coming out, only to come back 6 months later because they released something, or they were going to release something, but we didn't know about it. Had we known about it, maybe I could have just gritted my teeth and went through it, I know that's a bad thing to say when you're playing a game, but I mean, MMOs are long-term time commitments, and you want to have stuff to do, but you also want to have stuff that's on the horizon that is coming forward, that you can look forward to, because these games are living, breathing worlds, and as such, we should feel like they're living, breathing worlds, that things are actually happening rather than just doing it and then sitting in limbo. So, that is the end of our Elder Scrolls discussion topics for the week. We are going to move into the Tales...
Hold on.
Oh, wait, what?
Did you read the second to last paragraph?
About which second to last? The launch issues and especially black market stuff?
No.
I'm missing it.
Oh, yeah, but go down.
All right, why don't you tell me what I'm missing here?
All right. Fixing these problems required us to take gameplay experience of a number of players, affected the early gameplay experience of a number of players. Fixing these problems required us to take the mega servers offline, costing players time in the game. In recognition of this experience and to show our gratitude to everyone who supported the launch, we are giving an additional 5 days of included game time to every ESO player who set up an active account prior to 8 p.m. EDT Thursday, May 1st. And who are currently enjoying their 30 days of included game time. If you're eligible to receive the 5 days, a confirmation email will be sent to you. I got my confirmation email the other day. they
Yep.
automatically applied the 5 days to my account.
And I did see that too, and thank you for pointing that out. I don't know why I skipped that, but yeah, that was definitely really nice. I
kind of expected it, to be honest.
I
Because
didn't.
there was a lot of downtime. I kind of expected them to do this.
There was a lot of downtime. I will say that, but it was a lot of downtime in the non-primetime hours. And I know there's some people who play on weird hours, and I'm sorry for those people. But look at like Blizzard, look at Tryon Worlds back when they were actually subscription. If it was off primetime hours, you didn't get bonus time. If it was like 2 a.m, that was to them a maintenance period, and they had no problem doing that. So honestly, I didn't see it coming. I mean, it's very nice, and I appreciate it. It's very, very nice. Because, like, even all these downtimes, to be honest, I never experienced one of them, but I play during the times that they didn't take them down. They took.
I think one of the maintenances actually affected me wanting to get in and play.
Really? Like,
yeah.
Almost every time I seen it, it was either very, very late night, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was back up by, like 10 or 11. It was always during non-prime playtime hours. So I'm just saying that I wasn't expecting it, because other game companies, if it's not during prime time where it's affecting the majority of their player base, they really don't care. So
for me, it's just another reason to snuggle.
All right, we're going to move on because this is getting creepy. I'm just kidding.
Hey, well, it's not just the developers, it's also every creature in the game. I want to snuggle Quama. I want to snuggle trolls. I want to snuggle imps, and I want to snuggle harpies.
I am so happy to hear that I'm not the only one who thinks the Quama are absolutely adorable.
Yes, they are adorable.
All right, Tales of Tamriel, personal story time. Let us start this week with our guest, Korgoth. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in-game and give us a little story?
Okay. For me, what I've been doing in-game is basically what I've done is I have completely gone through all the quests that I could find for Glenumbra and Stormhaven, and that's only put me at about level 22. But essentially, what I've been going through and doing is I play a sorcerer, dual wielding, and I've perked a lot into Daedric summoning. So essentially, with my character, in my first, my first bar of skills, essentially I use stamina most of the time, and the only reason I use Magicka is to put on Bound Armor, which is a toggle ability, Clan Fear, and Twilight Matriarch, which are also both toggle abilities. So I'm free to use just my stamina in combat, while my Magicka is only used for summoning creatures. I enjoy that, as well as my ultimate ability. But essentially, when I go through that, I'm using my 2 swords, and essentially a big part of my thing in ESO is crafting. A good chunk of this game is crafting for me. I'm just going out in the world, and I'm level 22. I'm not level 26 yet. I can't use Orcalnian ore, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through the world. I'm getting that high iron ore, and I'm just searching for it, and I'm going through cracks and crevices, exploring every mountain. And as for a little story, I do have a very interesting one. I was basically I witnessed my first NPC fight in ESO, and that's essentially that. I thought that the enemies in this game were very much into teaming up against you, but I found out that if they're not of the same species, like if they're not both spiders or they're not both drow, they will attack each other. And what I got was this bear that I basically used my second skill bar, which is it's the same Daedric summoning except with a bow. And essentially I'm just like shooting this bear in the face because I'm waiting for research to time down on a weighted research perk for crafting swords. And I'm just shooting this bear. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna get him. My clan fear's going in. Right behind me, a drow shows up. I dodge in front of me. I'm running away, and then the bear and the drow start fighting each other along with my 2 constructs there. And I just thought it was so funny, and I enjoyed it. I wanted to share that.
Nice. All right. I like that. That's cool. Crabby.
Okay. Now, last week I had a bit of a revelation on the show, and that hasn't changed. I still love this game, and I still firmly believe it'll be great. But this past week, I haven't really played a whole lot. I found myself hitting veteran rank 1 with only a couple people to play with, kind of ahead of the curve. And I'm veteran rank 3 now. And I'm kind of sick of questing at the moment. I don't feel like questing. And doing PvP is kind of boring unless you're with a group of people. And I'm kind of struggling to find things to do. Mm-hmm. So I respect a couple of times. It cost me about 50,000 gold,
And
whatever.
possible ban.
And a possible ban. That still didn't do it for me. So I actually, Thais is going to love this. I actually created an Argonian Nightblade earlier. Okay. And I am really excited. You know why I made him? Solely because he is the most non-humanoid looking race. And, I guess Khajiit are up there too. But the big tail, I love the tail.
I love tails.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get in there with him, and actually, I want to use a bow. I want to be in first person using a bow on stuff, because that's how I play. Now, I mean, in MMOs, I'm always a caster. I always, at ranged casting. I found myself at veteran rank stuff with my sorcerer pretty much being in melee almost all the time. And I tried using a two-handed sword, and I wasn't super fond of it. And now it's like, all right, I'm gonna try to play this game like I played Skyrim for $700. I'm gonna make my bow using whatever, and I'm gonna try to do it in first person. I'm just gonna see how it goes. I mean, I'm already veteran rank 3 on my sorcerer. I'm not racing it yet to 10 for what Craglorn, which no one in the guild will be veteran rank 10 to do. So I mean, I made a Nightblade and an Argonian one, and I can't wait to actually get into him after the show tonight.
Nice. I know it's kind of rough when you're up to a certain point, no one else is around you. But once Thais and I get up there, we'll have to do Rent-A-Kip, and then we'll be able to do some veteran rank stuff, and we'll have a fairly good group. I know it always is rough when you're up there at the top and no one else is around there, and I
feel lonely. It's like a lonely feeling. I'm like, oh man,
I could imagine that.
It's because no one likes you, but it's okay.
Yeah, I know. I hate you too.
I like Crabby. But
yeah,
okay.
Crabby, since you're playing as an Argonian, there is this great guy I know that you should go try to invite to a group. His name is Shank, and I just...
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll try that. I'll get right on that.
And just as an exercise, therapeutically, make an Argonian character named Shank the Tank. Just to really, it's a therapy. Trust me, it'll feel good.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to my stories here. I didn't get to play a lot because my wife was away, and she doesn't have any because we literally left. I guess what was it, Tuesday or something like that. Tuesday, and didn't have a lot of time to keep going. So what I did was I spent a lot of this week farming for materials, and it was actually, I had a lot of fun. I was actually in Vent a lot. I got to talk to a bunch of different people, and so while I was out running around, I found some really neat spots. Now I went to I did a little bit in East March, but I didn't want to explore a lot because I didn't want to explore without Thais there. So I decided I was going to go back to Shadowfen, since the metal that I was farming was the Orichalcum and the Dwarven Ore, and both of those were found in Shadowfen as well. So I went back there and I was running around Shadowfen a little bit. I found a ton of lore books. Like crazy amounts, and I took screenshots because I didn't read any of them because she's looking at me with eye daggers over here. But I took screenshots so that we could go back and find. I found like 3 or 4 of them in Shadowfen. I found like 8 in East March. Now that I did for a lot. Like for the past all week, that's all I've been doing. And you can ask Kipster in the guild. I asked him to craft a whole bunch of swords and stuff for me to break down to try to get my blacksmithing up, and we actually got up 3 or 4 levels. I went from 27 to 31. I had farmed, I think it was over 600 bars of orichalcum. It was a lot of bars. So at one point I decided I'm going to go into Cyrodiil. Just because I was getting tired of the orichalcum and I wanted to kind of go forward. I think someone's mic's open. I'm not sure who it is. Anyway, I went in and there's some really neat areas in Cyrodiil that I wanted to say I found. As I was going through, I saw my first troll in Cyrodiil. That was kind of scary because it chased me down the hill and I had to run away. The other option that I had was I found Cloud Ruler Temple, and it's being pulled up into the sky by a dark anchor. I'm assuming you can't clear this dark anchor because it automatically went white on my map. I think it's a storyline kind of thing, because unlike most dark anchors where you see them crash in the ground, you're able to fight them off. This one has already started to rip it out of the ground. You can literally see it being ripped out of the ground. It is surrounded by all these Daedroth and the snake Daedra, whatever they're called. It scared me because I had to run away because it was just by myself. I found like 4 or 5 sky shards that I took screenshots of because I wasn't allowed to pick them up. And I just love Cyrodiil. When I was in there, it was massive. Absolutely massive. It was really cool. So actually, that's really all I did for my story for this week. Not a lot, because we didn't really advance our storyline at all, because my wife just got back today. And so we're going to continue and go forward next week. All right, so we're going to move on to our next section, which is the dramatic reading. This week, we'll be starting a series of books from within the Elder Scrolls Online game itself. We've decided to do a series, or do these in series, as finding the lore books in-game, they are often bound within a set. The first set of lore books is from the Mages Guild that we decided to read. It's called Daedric Princes in-game. There will be 8. This is going to be an 8-part series. There's 10 books in the series, but 2 of the books were shorter, so we kind of did them both together. The 2 books are the books in the series are Aedra and Daedra, Boethia's Proving, I don't even know, Incubation of Azura, Modern Heretics, The Dream Stride, The House of Troubles, The Totems of Hircine. Oh dear heaven, that book.
Fragmente Abyssium Hermaeus Morris.
You might as well read the next one too.
Oh wow. I don't know, some book. Mesomorphy.
Is the Augmentinium?
No, it's a different. It's Opusculus
Lame Balta Mesomorti.
There you go. And the Spawn of Molech Ball. My goodness, I'm not going to read that next week. All right, the first part of our 8-part series will be the books Aedra and Daedra and Boethia's Proving. We decided to read 2 books this week because the first one is rather short. Now I present Thais as she reads Aedra and Daedra, followed by Boethia's Proving. Take it away.
The author of Aedra and Daedra is anonymous. The designations of gods, demons, Aedra, and Daedra are universally confusing to the layman. They are often used interchangeably. Aedra and Daedra are not relative terms. They are elvish and exact. Azura is a Daedra both in Skyrim and Morrowind. Aedra is usually translated as ancestor, which is as close as Cyrodiilic can come to this elven concept. Daedra means, roughly, not our ancestors. This distinction was crucial to the Dunmer, whose fundamental split in ideology is represented in their mythical genealogy. Aedra are associated with stasis. Daedra represent change. Aedra created the mortal plane and are bound to the earth bones. Daedra, who cannot create, have the power to change. As part of the divine contract of creation, the Aedra can be killed. Witness Lorcan and the Moons. The Protean Daedra, for whom the rules do not apply, can only be banished. Now is Boethiah's Proving, whose author is anonymous. The following account is true. May it serve as a warning to those with ears to hear and hearts to know. On a certain day, at a certain time, the faithful gathered to perform certain rituals, hoping to gain a glimpse of their master. The day was correct, the summoning true. Slashing a smoking tear through the veil, she, her very self, appeared before them, terrible and resplendent. She came arrayed in ebony, darker than a moonless night, wielding a blade burning hotter than the surface of the sun. And though she wore the guise of a Dunmer warrior queen, she towered above them like a statue carved from the red mountain itself. Why have you disturbed me? Surprised, the first among them prayed. O Boethiah, prince of plots, deceiver of nations, queen of shadows, goddess of destruction, we come to worship thee. She looked down upon her followers, gathered to bear witness. Frowning, she asked the first, Tell me, you who profess to know me, how shall I know you? Fearful, he exclaimed, Each night I pray to thee, each night I call out thy wondrous name. Surely thou must recognize the sound of my voice, thy most devoted of believers. She frowned and let out a long sigh, and then all of a sudden he was gone, the air from her lungs dispersing him. Turning to the second, she asked, And you? How shall I measure the worth of your existence? Stunned by the power of her voice, he bowed before her darkening visage. She clapped her hands, and he too was gone. To the third, And you, tell me, how shall I know you apart from such as were they, of whom there is no trace? Shaken and speechless from the nullifications of his brethren, he whispered, Have mercy upon us. She blinked twice. Once he was in agony, twice he was destroyed. She cast a withering glance across those remaining and said, I do not grant mercy. And so it was with the others, she putting them to proof, they offering none. Finally she came to me, eyes aglow with anger, tongue wet with hate, and said, Of all my believers, but two remain. Tell me, second to last, with what shall you prove your existence? Without hesitation, I drew forth my blade, and buried it in the chest of the other who stood beside me, and without fear replied, Ask him whose blood now sprouts from my blade if I exist. She smiled, and the gates of oblivion opened between her teeth. Then she said, Tell me, now last of my followers, wherefore do you remain where the others do not? I retrieved my blade and offered it up, saying, I am alive because that one is dead. I exist because I have the will to do so, and I shall remain as long as there are signs of my handwork, such as the blood dripping from this blade. Accepting my gift, she nodded and said, Indeed. If in the reading your blood boils in your veins, and your mind blazons with fire, then Boethiah calls you. It is then most wise to heed her call.
That second book was awesome.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. Mm-hmm. She's definitely a very, very creepy Daedra. All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is our community spotlight. Now, this week, we are doing something a little different. We've actually invited Korgoth, and I have the Forgotten here, but he's the Remembered now, onto our show that he can tell us a little bit about what he's doing in the Elder Scrolls community. So, Korgoth, why don't you go ahead and you tell us who you are, and how about a little bit about what got you into the Elder Scrolls and what you do as part of the Elder Scrolls community?
Well, okay. I have to start off, obviously, with two apologies. I am not used to being part of a group formats such as this, and I realize that I have been interrupting all three of you during your points of you're very interested in a topic, and I'm just coming in and blathering, and I apologize about that. And as well as just the confusion about the name. Yeah, that's sort of an inside joke between me and the 26 people who at the time did subscribe to me. You see, for a while, I was just doing vlogs. I wasn't really into the idea of, doing any specific Elder Scrolls thing. I didn't want to get popular, but now, yeah, I kind of like the idea of spreading the love of Elder Scrolls in a creative way, and I want people to see that kind of. But essentially, how I got into Elder Scrolls, is that something I should start off with?
Yeah, tell us what got you interested in the Elder Scrolls universe itself. Let us know a little bit about what makes you tick within Elder Scrolls.
All right, so essentially, a few years back, this was just about like 4 or 5 years back. My friend Isaac, when he was still living in the neighborhood with me, he's my best friend. Spiked Pikeman, I guess, is his internet title because that's what he always, tries to tell me to call him online. I don't. But essentially, his TV broke down, and he brought over this thing I had never seen before. That young 16-year-old me had never seen before. And I was like, what is it? It's like, oh, it's an Xbox, and it's an Xbox 360, because I had never owned any type of gaming or anything like that before until I was 16. And, he just let me borrow it, and he's like, well, I have this game on it. It's called Oblivion. Like, oh, what's this? It's like, well, it's a fantasy game. It's open world. I'm not that into it, but you might be. And he was right. And I, the Argonian named Sprinkles, did beat Moraeus Dagon and prove myself to be more of a Daedra than he was, I mean, well, granted, Akatosh did most of the work, but I did the dirty work, I believe, But it's just that it's such a coincidence that I ever even got into it, because if my friend's TV had not burst into flames and he was not able to play his Xbox and he didn't have to bring it over here, I wouldn't even know what Elder Scrolls is, And that is a personal revelation. That's just fun to remember. By the way, remembered. But also with the channel, what I'm doing, a YouTube channel called Korgoth the Remembered, and that is an inside joke between me and the few people who were subscribed to me at the time. Right now, we stand with 31 subscribers. We are looking for more, obviously. We always are. Essentially, the main focus of the channel right now is an Elder Scrolls audio drama. Now, those of you in the chat who have ever heard of a podcast called Keeg's Quest, which happened around the time that Skyrim was coming out. It was a parody sort of comedy podcast. Mine is more serious and dramatic and is based in lore. Essentially, if I could just read for you sort of a promo, because this is the main thing that's going to be on the channel. Drohan Korgoth is a zoologist with a heart of gold. Willius Chung is a Dunmer martial artist raised in Akavir, and Marissa Circus is trying to pick up the pieces after the murder of her family. How will they meet? Where will they go? Find out in Living in Tamriel, an Elder Scrolls audio drama. It's sort of like a 1930s radio show. As for that, I also host a podcast called Scroll of Knowledge, and I'm switching that to a seasonal basis because, I am just one guy. And when it's three people like you, you can keep things going. You have chemistry, but I just don't think I can come up with a subject every week on my own to keep a half hour, even a half hour show going, because it is usually a half hour show, except for when I do specials or it just ends up being long or I was away for a while, in which case it'll be about an hour or a little over an hour. So that's called Scroll of Knowledge, an Elder Scrolls fan podcast. And also, I do a lore book library, which are separate videos. And, that's sort of the final thing I want to mention is that'll be moving to special occasion days when, like, some big news was announced, or I just really feel like pumping one out. So far, the three big ones we have out. We have all of Herbane's Bestiary in Ag could put for his YouTube. I don't know what that means.
Just ignore anything in Skype.
I'll take care of that.
Okay. But essentially, I'm already subscribed to the YouTube channel for this, by the way. But it's just that the lore library, the three big ones that I just really want to mention are we have done all 14 of the racial motif books for all 14 of the racial motif books for Elder Scrolls Online. We have done Altmer through Daedric. We have done all 14. They're in two separate videos, Racial Motifs Part 1 and Part 2. We have also done all of Herbane's Bestiary in one video. So that's really all I wanted to mention. More to come. Every month I plan on doing another episode. I also have friends and guests who can also do voices for characters when I run out of a range of my own talents. So I'm not trying to boast or anything. I just realize that people sometimes comment on they like voices that I do, and
I even said that earlier.
Yeah, you said that yesterday when we were meeting before the show. Yeah,
that's right.
Also, by the way, another conversation we had. Oh, sorry. What was that?
No, go ahead.
It's all
you.
Okay. No, another conversation we had that I did want to bring up. It's a bit off topic. The trolls you met in Cyrodiil looks like a giant hedgehog, doesn't it? From far away, like a porcupine from very far away.
Yeah, they kind of have an arched back. Yeah.
And spines, don't they? Do they have spines?
It looks like it. Either spines or hardened tufts of hair.
Yes, but you see, the trolls in Skyrim don't have that, and that's awesome. That the trolls in Skyrim are more ape-like, and the trolls in High Rock and Cyrodiil are not, and that's just so cool that they did that. Wouldn't you agree?
I do.
Yeah. Okay, so again, that's really all I had to mention. Living in Tamriel, monthly Elder Scrolls audio drama. Tune in for that. I'd appreciate it. And maybe you just want to sit back. You want to listen to some nice story overplayed with a little Elder Scrolls music in the background. I do use soundtracks from all Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, and ESO respectively. And I do use them at appropriate times. So I don't, so I'm trying to use them in a sense that a TV show would use them. If you enjoy that kind of thing, tune in for it. I don't expect to get a lot of subscribers or viewers, but maybe you think it's worth a shot of listening to, and it's gotten the most likes of any of my videos, so I just thought I'd throw it in. Does that work?
That's excellent. Thank you. That is awesome. Thank you so much. And I wanted to bring people in further on to kind of show what we're doing, because as a whole, the main thing with these community spotlights is to point out that we are a big community, and there are a lot of people out here who just want to do something to get the name of Elder Scrolls out there to people. And I want to thank Korgoth for coming on the show, and for just being an awesome part of the Elder Scrolls community, even trying to push us out so people can, get to know us and get to know the game that we all so love and enjoy.
You're gonna get a snuggle.
A snuggle, yes, and he does hand out free snuggles. For every like of his page, he will snuggle you.
Yep.
All right, moving on to the next section, the Guild Spotlight. Crabby.
Okay, so I did a contest last week where anybody who posted feedback in episode 14's show thread on our website would have a chance to win a free 60-day game card for Elder Scrolls Online. If you're listening to this now, the contest is over because I'm going to do the winner right now. Now, I'm going to actually put this on the stream. Now, this is what I do. To show everybody how I'm doing it, I put everybody's name in this list. This website is called random.org. What it does is I put everyone's name from the website in this list. So we have 31 entries. A 1 in 31 chance to win 60 days of game time is pretty good, I think. So the way I do this is when I click randomize, the person who is number 1 on the list is going to be the winner. If you're number 2, that stinks. Number 1 is going to win the prize. So I'm going to click randomize, and let's see who's going to win. Please be somebody in North America. Timothy Hall, congratulations, sir. You have won 60 days of game time.
And what we're going to do is I'm going to give Crabby the email address that you used to post the comment, and he will contact you to that email address, and then he'll deal with you from there as to getting you the information. But he will email you at that email address. You email back saying, yes, you got it, blah, 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 and he'll work out the details from there.
Mm-hmm. So congratulations, Timothy Hall. You'll be getting an email from Crabby654, and we'll work out the details, but congratulations.
Congratulations, that is awesome. Now, I also did want to make a special mention of one member of the site who wrote a poem for us in the comments.
This is all right. The feedback we got from everybody was amazing, but I think this was kind of all of our this was awesome.
It was.
This kind of takes the cake.
This was just straight up awesome.
And I've actually asked Thais to read it for us. Please just because I thought it was so cool.
Alright, here's the poem from one of the fans. Come one and all for Tamriel Tales, the ESO show that never fails, to warm the souls of many a fan and guide us through with helping hands. Aggelos presides with great aplomb and instills the show with wit and fun. His Nernroot obsession fuels his desire for a backpack that sings like a concealed choir. Thais, a kind and gentle soul, Argonian's friend and hoarder of all, reading the tales of long ago, revealing the stories we may not know. Crabby prevails with tales so bold, a vampire's life and quest for gold. A veteran player with skill and might, but don't get too close, he'll move in for a bite. Download every week and feast your ears on hours of fun, laughter, and tears. A podcast this good is not hard to sell, so come one and all for Tales of Tamriel.
That was from Nigel. He's from the UK. Thank you so much for that. That made my day. I put it out to Crabby, too. And we're like, ah!
I know I'm not a part of this podcast, technically, but I want to tackle you and snuggle you for that.
It was quite interesting.
That was awesome. Everybody who posted feedback on that show thread is very awesome, well appreciated. This just happened to stick out because it was so unique. But yeah, no, this was great. This is just great.
I have to mention, because I'm an English, fanatic.
Oh God.
Very the rhyme scheme is awesome, and the slant rhymes, and I loved reading it, and it made me giggle on the inside, and I clapped like a little schoolgirl, and it was awesome. So nice job on the poem. I loved it.
It was very enjoyable when I saw it come up for my approval. It was great. I pretty much immediately texted Thais and messaged Crabby on Skype. Go, dude, you gotta look at this. Okay, but enough gushing for that for right now. Time for a guild update. We've actually been having a lot of fun with the guild. We're actually up over, I think, 100 members last I looked. We had a lot of interest in the guild, and it's really cool. I did want to mention that if you are interested in joining the guild, for the fans of the Tales of Tamriel show, you can whisper or send an in-game mail to @Aggelos, that's AGGELOS, or @Teareater, TEAREATER, for an invite to the guild. You can also message Crabby. You actually message anyone in the guild. Everyone can invite. Crabby is @Crabby, CRABBY 654, right? Right, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean myself, but yes, no, yeah, Crabby 654.
Or anyone in the guild. Everyone can invite. It is an open guild. Also, for anyone who wants to PvP with us in Cyrodiil, we are representing the Ebonheart Pact on the Hope's Fire campaign. Blood for the Pact?
Blood for the Pact.
All right. Question, my love. We're free next weekend, right? Yes? No? Yeah? Okay. Since our last one was so fun, we're going to do another PvP Saturday night. So it's going to be next Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, just like normal. We're going to do another PvP in Cyrodiil, because I know after that event, Saturday, we had people logging on going, are we doing another PvP event tonight? I'm like, well, I didn't schedule one because I knew Thais was going to be away, but now this week we're going to do another launch into Cyrodiil. So next Saturday, which is May the 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be going into Cyrodiil again. And hopefully this time Crabby's internet holds out.
No, Crabby's internet has to fail because once he was gone, we were winning everything. So he actually can't be there.
Wait till you get to Riften and you're in that little corner and you see me sitting there. You're going to go, oh, crap.
If you come anywhere near me with your vampire self,
it'll
I'm
happen.
going to be pissed.
No, because you're going to have to explore this corner. So
I just have to boo this because I've developed a serious case of lion's pride. I just can't support any non-Daggerfall Covenant activity.
Well, at least you're not a dirty elf. All right, we're going to move on.
I'll have you know I am half elf, sir.
Oh, you're a Breton.
No, actually, my character his dad was an orc, his mom was a dark elf.
Well, then you're part Ebonheart Pact, if that's how you're role-playing it. So, I mean...
You,
a mutt?
Some kind of mutant from Skyrim before you modded it.
I know, I went there. I did. Okay, we're going to move on to the next section, which is our emails, fan feedback, and stuff like that. First off, I do want to say this. I'm going to let Thais read all these because she really wanted to. But I do want to say thank you so much to all of our fans who've been giving us 5-star reviews on iTunes. This helps us out so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, go ahead, my dear. Start reading.
From Saul Red, best ESO podcast available. 5 stars. Ag, Thais, and Crabby are a great team. This podcast is lore-rich and they are always on topic. Aggelos and Thais are very passionate about the lore of the Elder Scrolls world, and I've learned much about the world of Tamriel from listening to this podcast. Crabby is the veteran MMOer and now veteran rank something in game, and he brings great insight and knowledge of the game to the listeners. They have recently started making the podcast longer, and the long format is excellent to allow me to get outside and exercise while I still feel connected to the game, when I don't really want to do anything but play. Thanks, TOT, for an excellent cast of adventure, excitement, and great news coverage. I look forward to this cast every week, and I am very excited to be a new member of Wings of Fate. Heart, Soul Red, a.k.a. Glows with Love.
I do also want to say something here. Thank you, Saul Red. He's part of an amazing group of people who have actually supported us a lot. They are the Mog Gaming Nation. He's part of that gaming group, and if you're interested in multi-gaming group and just a great group of people, you should check out the Mog Nation Gaming because they have supported our podcast like crazy, and they're just a great group of guys and girls. I'm sure guys and girls. Great. So I definitely want to give them a shout out as well because I know he's specifically part of the Mog Nation, and their entire group has said nothing but great things about our podcast. So thank you to Saul Red and all those at Mog Nation Gaming. Thank you.
Next we have Eve Trael, an asset to the Elder Scrolls community. 5 stars. My week just isn't complete until I get my fill of your Tamrielic goodness. I'd love to be able to give you some constructive criticism, but honestly, all of your audio issues from earlier episodes seem to be fixed.
Must be a Crabby guy.
I continue to thoroughly enjoy the chemistry that the 3 of you have formulated. Each of you brings a strength to the other's weakness with differing personalities and charm. Aggelos, the comedic yet intellectual moderator. Thais, the soft yet outspoken narrator.
Obviously doesn't know me very well.
And Crabby, the experienced gamer and realist.
Oh, yep. Sounds
Barf.
like me. Sounds like me a
The
lot.
ES discussion topics are interesting and opinions insightful. And the tail segment of the cast, though, is where it shines most as the happy couple ever so descriptively transport us back to relive their adventures together, leaving us jealous with envy. And towards the end, Thais brings it all home with her amazing storytelling. Despite this seemingly complete package, it only gets better or worse with the addition of the illustrious Crabby, wishing continued adventures and willingness to share.
It must have pained you to read that.
I don't know if this person actually knows us at all, because all this stuff is way too flattering.
He's fairly accurate, I think, pretty much.
Well, thank you. It is very nice, and thank you so much for saying all that nice stuff. Even though I think you embellished way too much for us.
Too much praise, sir.
Yeah.
I know them like I know them. They kept me in a cage before the show.
Get back in your cage. Well, that was on time, man. That was awesome. All right, continue at the next one.
Next, we have Mactavius, a solid TISO podcast. I look forward to each new episode of this fine podcast. I find the interactions between the hosts convey their absolute enjoyment of the game and the lore, and it makes me want to find a reason to leave work and go home and play. This is a great podcast for any The Elder Scrolls Online player. Next, and unfortunately last, is Mick War. I'm sad when this 2 to 3 hours is over. I listened to this podcast leading up to the release and loved every minute of it. I'm so happy to have this show to listen to every week now that the game is up and running. Keep up the good work. I was also looking forward to seeing Crabby while leveling my AD tune. Why did you abandon us? Thanks again, you three.
Yeah, that was my first character that I actually deleted today.
Oh.
I haven't played him for about like 3.5 weeks.
Extra sting with the deletion.
I love the feedback we get though. It's so great.
It is, and all these
Everyone
were
is
5-star
awesome.
ratings, and thank you so much. All right, let's move on to our final thoughts. All right, and of course you can let people know where to follow you and that kind of stuff. So let's. I have in the notes. I'm going to start with Thais first, but I'm not because it's more polite for guests first. So Korgoth. Tell us, give us your final thoughts for the show. Let people know where they can follow you. Anywhere like that, get your name out there. Go ahead, shameless plug away.
All right. I am a dirty plugging person. Now, I was about to say something else, but I remembered Family Show. Yeah. You can follow me on Facebook. Due to an error on Facebook, I am still Korgoth the Forgotten. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at Korgoth Lives. You can subscribe to me on YouTube, this same site that some of you are on watching this podcast, but some of you are on iTunes, in which case you should go over to YouTube and you should probably go and hit that subscribe button. What you're going to be getting is you're going to be getting a podcast filled with a big intellectual theory, usually involving the lore with the podcast. If you do listen to it, or if you end up listening to it, you'll find that it focuses on Elder Scrolls as a whole. Sometimes it is partially focused on ESO, but not a lot. And you'll also be getting, again, as I said before in the community segment, Living in Tamriel and Elder Scrolls drama, as well as some lore books once in a while.
Excellent.
The YouTube channel is Korgoth the Remembered. Korgoth the Remembered. So you remember it.
There you go. Nice. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And I got to tell people, we spent some time last night talking before the recording today. And we got in some pretty neat lore discussions. So this guy really does love his lore because we really got into some pretty in-depth lore discussion. So definitely go out and give them a listen, see what you think. All right. Thais, my love. Final thoughts for the show, where they can follow you in game, anything like that.
All right, final thoughts. I am still reeling from the poem. I'd already read it before the show because Ag was so excited to show it to me. But then to get to read it out loud, it's just I I'm so happy and excited for this poem. And it was a great show. I'm so happy we had another guest on the show. That's not Crabby. Hate Crabby. Great show.
Sorry.
Okay.
Bite you so hard.
Wow. All right. This is degrading quickly. Crabby, give us your final thoughts.
Oh my god, I had something totally awesome I wanted to say, and I completely forgot about it because Thais is a gigantic jerk.
Well, maybe it's because you called her Lyris Titanborn earlier.
She is freakishly tall.
Uh-huh.
No, I mean, it was fun. Like the feedback we get and what we even, I guarantee you, if we didn't do a contest, we probably would have got like a few feedbacks on the website, but still, you know, a lot of those feedbacks we got, they were genuine. You know, there was criticisms and positives in there, and the feedback is great. It makes me want to do this every week. Like, I want to do the podcast every week with you guys because of, like, you know, knowing people listen to it and like it. I love the feedback. And Ag, you gotta figure out a way to save that poem, because something tells me that at some point we'll be able to write in books, and if we can, we have to put that in a book somehow.
Yep, I know. I agree. I've already been thinking about that.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it was great tonight. Everything, facial animations. Thais, I'm taking you down in horse racing, by the way. So
You cannot beat me.
be ready for that.
Out of being a great MMO player, the only other games I whoop massive butt in is racing games.
Mhm.
So you don't stand a chance.
Okay, well, I want to thank my co-host for joining me this evening. As for myself, I love the feedback. I adore it. Thank you so much for... Oh, my goodness. The fans of this show really are what make... I love doing this podcast every week. And I would have liked to do it anyway, even if we didn't have... But the fact that we have so many fans who love to listen to the show, who give us such great feedback, it is just encouraging every single week when I come in here and get a chance to see what people say. Like, even in the guild, I love talking to the different people in the guild. I've been getting whispers from people going, I love the show. It is just amazing, and you guys make this so worth it. I know I say this every week, but you really do. The fans of this podcast are like the best in the world, and I love you guys to death. So yeah, I'm excited. I love what Zos is doing. I love what they're showing us, and there goes my phone, right in the middle of my big speech. It's just great, and I cannot wait to see what they do. Please provide housing for us, Sauce. Please, thank you. Okay, I want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. If you wish to support the podcast, feel free to donate via the PayPal link on our website. If you wish to contact us with questions, comments, criticisms, our website for the show is talesoftamriel.com. Or you can email the show at podcast@talesoftamriel.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales of Tamriel, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tales of Tamriel podcast. Also, feel free to rate and subscribe to us via iTunes. Again, guys, you've been doing this so great for us. Anyone else who hasn't, please do so. Like, these ratings help us so much, and we adore them. Thank you so much for helping us out on iTunes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Tales of Tamriel. Everyone have a great evening.